easy. They don't usually.
Good evening and welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, July 28th, 2016. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to start off the meeting with the consent agenda, which will be approval of regular session minutes of June 23rd, 2016, special session minutes of July 11th, 2016, governance minutes of May 13th, 2016, governance minutes of June 22nd, 2016, special session minutes of July 11th, 2016, and acceptance of warrants 01V17, 03V17, 02P17, and 04P17.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone here from the public that would like to talk about anything on the agenda?
Maybe Donna, no.
Maybe.
Hello
Hi there. Hi.
Welcome.
I was just asking if anyone from the public wanted to talk about anything on the agenda.
Yep.
Hi.
Steve, I'm Jordan.
Come on up, Fee. Come on,
I just noticed on the agenda
Yep, come on up.
that item number 9
Mhm.
is to discuss the choice for kindergarten, and I was just wondering if you had flexibility to bring that up sooner.
Sure.
We have a couple people with small children.
Sure.
Thank
Sure,
you.
No
That's
problem.
it.
Sure. Okay, so we will do that after we speak with the new special education director, Mr. Jack Tiani, if you wouldn't mind, Tiano, if you wouldn't mind coming on up and telling us how your first week or so has been
Sit right down,
going.
Jack.
So,
Make yourself comfortable.
It's great to be here in Georgetown, and I've been here for about 2.5 weeks so far and had an opportunity to get into the summer school program a little bit, meet some staff, meet some of the kids who are attending. We've been very busy hiring. There's
Good.
quite a few positions open, so two of our big ones Carol's going to meet with tomorrow, so we're very excited about that.
And can you tell me what those ones are?
So that's for the facilitator in each building.
Okay.
So, knock on wood, hopefully
on wood.
those will both be filled tomorrow. And then I've been interviewing for a physical therapist, have not found one yet. And I'm also interviewing for my administrative assistant. And had 8 interviews this week and feel very confident that from that group I'll be able to pick one. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. And how about parent communication or family communication?
So I've had an opportunity to meet with several families over the past 2.5 weeks or so, and things have been going great. Again, knock on wood so far, yeah.
A letter did go
Okay.
out to all the
Yep.
families, so, you know, everybody is aware that Jack's here.
Yeah, and I saw your blog.
And I saw the blog, and I did a blog, yeah.
And one of the things I
Facebook,
haven't
and we put
gotten
on
to yet,
Facebook.
but
Yep.
am very interested in getting into the website. If anyone took a look at, from my previous school district that I worked for, I really try to get a lot of information on there so that, parents are up to date. I usually do at least a monthly newsletter as part of that as well. So hoping to kind of dig into that soon too.
Yeah, I did
That
have
would
an
be great.
opportunity to take a look at that prior to us hiring you, and I think several of us did that, and I thought that that was great, just the different, it was a lot of information, which
Yeah.
is perfect,
Great.
more the better. So have you, are the principals around? Have you been
I've had
having
an
much?
opportunity to meet with both principals. In fact, we've done some of the hiring
Together.
together as
Oh,
well.
good.
Yeah, so that's been great.
Okay, that's great. Well, we're happy to have you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will talk now about the kindergarten school choice discussion. That's not a problem, moving that up.
Yeah.
So I did send an email today, before the meeting, a couple of hours before the meeting, to the superintendent and to Margaret about just a couple of questions that I had had. I appreciate you getting back to me
Oh, no
on
problem.
them. Because I do have a lot of concerns about the lack of aides. the current, or the way things had been handled before with the usage of the aids, where they would be pulled,
Yeah.
you know, in other directions. And my concern was with the lack of the, you know, with only two, what would we be doing in terms of taking those two
Right.
and, you know, moving them if we needed coverage, whether it was, you know, special ed meetings, whatever. So, does anyone else share my concerns, or what are your thoughts on the kindergarten school choice issue?
Well, I think, I think it's very unfortunate that we don't have the assistance. I mean, I think it's something we all want. It was a little bit beyond our control. I think the population is not concerning, but we want to take into account that there are some significant needs that need to be met.
So in terms of like adding additional kids, you're saying?
Right, I think, plus we still have some move-ins, potentially.
so-
Right, that we
so-
wouldn't know about.
Well, as
Yeah.
of July 25th, we have 89
Right.
registered, and as far as we know, nothing has happened. That hasn't changed in the last couple of days.
I don't believe so, no.
So, with this all being said, it is unfortunate that the grant, you know, was taken away. We need to figure out how we can get these positions into the actual budget. And the superintendent had, you know, her email, had different options that we could explore, but.
He's
my
trying,
con-
yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing is that, so Principal Mara's not around, but you did talk to her.
I did speak to her on the telephone.
Okay.
I read
so-
her your email, so she knew
Yeah.
exactly what your concerns were.
So the first thing that came up was that she hadn't yet spoken to the kindergarten
Kindergarten
teachers,
teachers.
and I get that because it's the summer. But when is that gonna be done? Like to find out like what their needs are and
Right.
what their concerns are. Like I was a little concerned that that wasn't talked about because we all kind of thought that this wasn't
Yeah,
going to come through.
I think we definitely have anticipated it.
Right.
I think Margaret was waiting for the final decision to be made, you know,
With
because.
school choice or with
yeah,
the-
well, kind
with
of
the
both,
grant?
well,
Okay.
kind of both. We know what the grant is. That's sort of a done deal, and we.
I don't expect it to change, although I did find out today at a meeting I was at, the state told us that the legislature overrode the governor's veto on the circuit breaker cut. I mean, he didn't say anything else, so I think if he knew anything about the kindergarten grant, he would have spoken to it.
Everything I've heard, it does not look promising.
Right.
No, I mean, they're
So-
talking about potentially 9 C cuts
Yeah, he did
during
want
the
us-
school year.
Yeah, he did warn us
So,
today, we
I
might
mean,
have 9 C
Well,
cuts.
yeah, so, I mean, that means we'd have to cut things during the year, or we have to just make sure we don't spend any money, you know, because that's a concern, you know. There just isn't enough revenue in the state at this point. I mean, you've been following that, how many billions of dollars they are in that. So we know with pretty good certainty that the grant is not gonna come through. We know that was $56,000. And then we, you know, we had 2.3 positions in the budget. So the goal was to, you know, use the grant to offset, so we could keep our five assistants. That's really what we want, and that's really what we need. But as we know, we made a lot of cuts this year out of the budget, and, you know, that was not in the budget. We were counting on the grant. We were hopeful that the grant would be restored like it was last year. We figured that there'd be a lot of pressure put on again. On the other hand, we did know that last year we sort of got the shot fired across the bow that basically said, your chapter 70 increases. And actually, the town's chapter 70 increase was almost $56,000. So I think what they were basically saying is, we're gonna give you the money, but we're gonna put it in your chapter 70 allocation. We're not gonna designate it. It's gonna be up to you to designate it. And the problem is the town is above minimum contribution, so they're not obligated to give us that $50,000, right? So it's not a one-to-one match. So we sort of have had in our minds that the grant wasn't going to happen, but we really didn't know that until June 30th or so, right? The question of school choice, is a parallel question. Because originally the thought was, well, if we could fund those 3 positions, the $56,000, perhaps out of school choice, which would mean we would need to take more students in order to do that. Right? So that was the discussion. And I think we're all in favor. If that was possible, that would be optimal. The problem is the school choice account, as you know, you've been following the revolving accounts, is unstable. And, once we put salaries on that, we already have salaries on it that we've been trying to pull off, and we just haven't been able to get them into the budget.
Right.
So to put more on, and then every year people get raises, right? And then we never know if we're gonna have kids graduate. And if we don't have enough capacity to bring more kids in, it becomes a funding cliff. And that's really what's happening. This year, we couldn't even build our budget without guaranteeing 10 school choice slots, which we were fortunate to get. But it wasn't a guarantee. We've never had to do that. We've never had to do that, where our budget was dependent on actually getting school choice. That is not what we want to be using school choice for.
No, it's not what we wanna be using.
So that's the dilemma that we face, right? So while we were weighing it, as we wrote in the orange notes, when the more Margaret and I and others talked about it, what we thought was that the numbers are 18 right now. We don't know if we're gonna get more kids. We might not get any, we might get some. But if in the event we couldn't put 5 assistants in place, because we could find $56,000, but it means we have to cut $56,000 somewhere else. There
We
just isn't,
basically got level funded. We
In-
basically got level funded
in what, Pam?
from the state in chapter 70.
We got additional money in chapter 70.
Right, but
But
that
that doesn't-
56,000.
Right, but it doesn't correlate that it comes into our budget,
No.
because all it does is it takes off the burden off the town
Town.
to give
Right,
us
I
that money,
understand.
so we don't get it.
That's why I'm.
Yeah, yeah, the state
But
still spent the same amount of
That's
money.
not the same as level services.
No.
No,
That's
no,
far less
no.
than level services, which means we can't keep the same services if we're at that level. You see what I mean?
Right, unless you
Am I-
move,
Does that make
unless
sense?
you move
You'd have to
the
cut
shells,
something,
something
right.
has to cut, right,
Right.
that's right. And so when we were worrying about the grant, we, remember in all of our budget discussions, we talked about it, because we definitely believe we want those aids. But, it was competing with a lot of other things.
Well, I
Um,
think one of the things that we tried to be mindful of is that we know we have to make cuts, and we want it to be sort of fair, that it wasn't the middle high school absorbing all of
them, yeah.
them, or Pembroke absorbing all of them.
So if
None
we-
of them are good.
So if we
No.
couldn't add additional assistants, right, then the thought was, then our goal would be to keep the class sizes as low as we can.
Because we've never done this before. We've never
In-
operated
in-
kindergarten with
right.
2 aides.
No, we have never done that. And so that really has been the dilemma. So to your point about Margaret meeting with the kindergarten assistants, I think she was waiting to see whether or not there was gonna be any decision on school choice. If the committee said, okay, well, we're gonna take, you'd probably need, in order to fund the 3 positions, you'd probably need to take close to 10 kids, between 8 and 10 kids, because they're basically $5,000 a kid.
Would it be 11?
Right, so your class sizes would go to 20 per class. Now, arguably 20 is not terrible, but it is 20, and you've got some high needs kids coming into kindergarten, so that was the discussion, was, if we could keep the class sizes lower. And then the problem becomes, now we have to make sure that now school choice is dependent every year. We have to have the same number of kids. It just becomes an unsustainable situation. So the thought was, if we kept the class sizes as low as we could with the Georgetown students who, we have to accommodate for, and then worked with the kindergarten teachers to look at how they would fund, and Margaret is very open to listening to what the teachers think would be the best way to use those 2 aides. The other thing is we have a .4 library person, right, because of the way some of the shifts have been made with some of the kindergarten assistants, so that they could be in jobs that they were well suited for. And then there was discussion about talked to Joan today about the, you know, how it said 2.3 positions. So there is this $7,000 0.3 piece, which ends up, you know, being a piece of somebody else. So, you know, if we wanted to, we might be able to, with some of the salary savings through some of the people we've hired, create a third position. But that's probably as far as we would be able to go. Because that person would then do 0.4 in the library and then be available to do assistant work.
So it still wouldn't be a full-time
I
assistant
don't
at
think
the
it would end up
kindergarten
being
level?
a full-time assistant, but we would do our best to get it as much time. Margaret's biggest concern, and the teachers could probably comment on this or not, was really lunch. You know, the lunch, and then sometimes, as you said, Barbie, those aides get pulled from the kindergarten, which isn't optimal for them either. So when I talked with Zach, is that correct that happens?
Our big concern
Recess, right. So when I talked to, when I talked to Margaret about that today, she said, I think you have lunch with another class, right, or another grade. She felt that the lunchroom part was gonna be okay. It was the outside time that she was most worried about. So that's why we talked about if whoever the 0.4 library person is, if that person was working in the morning and then an extra hour, you know, or more was added to their day, then that person could cover lunch, which would give you the 3 anyway at lunch. I'm trying to come up with something that, you know, if it can't be all, you know, what are the highest need? Yes, because we have the 0.3 money. You know, that right now that it'll be absorbed in something else, but I think it's only fair if we have the 0.3 money to designate it toward, you know, meeting this, you know, this need.
Yeah. I think my main concern, and I'm just trying to remember back to when my kids were in kindergarten, and of course the safety, you know, there is a safety concern
Right.
when they're out on the
Playground.
playground, that's not a question, but my recollection is the aide did so much while that classroom teacher was taken aside and doing, you know,
Yep.
the you know, the academics with,
Yep.
and not that the aide wasn't doing, but it just, I'm just having a hard time with these kids going in and not getting what they need at that level without the assistance of an aide. Because to me, the aide was so much more than an aide. When I remember as a kid what an aide was. An aide was someone that helped you get
remember.
water and things like that. That's not an aide anymore.
I remember that same
Um,
thing. I volunteered a lot in kindergarten
Right.
classes with my boys, and
So you
the
saw
aides
that
were
They kept the
Indispensable,
class
very
like, you know, under
busy,
control and busy
helping
while, right.
all the time.
So I would just, I'm trying to, in my mind, picture what August it's gonna look like for these kindergarten kids. And then I wonder how much of this information the parents know. I mean, I know that, you know, we've had meetings and, you know, it's been out there that we've lost these aides, but I just wonder how many of these parents know just what's gonna change. And it might not be, you know, for the parents that it's their oldest, then they're not
They
gonna
might
see
not
it.
know, yeah. Well, I think the
But
challenge.
I still think they will.
I think the problem, again, is there's just not enough money. That it isn't, has nothing to do with the value, the need, absolutely not. It doesn't. We're all on the same page, right? And if we had a money tree that we could go out and pluck money from, it'd probably be one of the first priorities that we would do. So that's why we don't know exactly what it's gonna look like. That's why Margaret really does need to meet with the teachers. The teachers might say, it's more important for us to have a rotating schedule where when we do our small group instruction, we have, like Barbie said, somebody to help us with I wanna meet with the kids and somebody has to sort of help structure the class. They might say, nope, we'd rather have somebody do, clerical stuff. I don't know. You'd have to tell us what you'd want.
I'm disappointed though that Margaret, I'm
she-
disappointed that Margaret isn't here on such a, to me, an important topic. I changed my summer schedule for this meeting, because I really thought that we were gonna discuss the crisis manual, and I knew we were gonna talk about this.
Well, I think Margaret thought that the discussion about school choice had sort of, that she had talked to people and that people, that it was gonna be about, are we taking the kids or aren't we gonna take extra kids? I don't know that she, thought we were gonna have a conversation about exactly how the aids would be used. I mean, it was really
Well, it's
a
all
monetary,
tied-
it's a
it's
kind of
all
a.
tied
I
together.
know, but it's a monetary decision in some ways that you're trying to make here, you know? But I mean, I can't control when people make their vacation plans. I apologize for that.
Yeah, do you wanna come on up?
Let's say.
Why don't you
You
come
wanna
on
come
up?
on up, Pete?
And if-
Come, Donna, you come, you come for support.
Can you just state your name and your address?
Pete Bongiorni, 5 Raymond Road, Georgetown.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Donna Donahoe, 6 Village Lane, Georgetown.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for
So what do you want to know?
Well, can I just ask
Whatever
a
you wanna
can I
tell-
just
okay.
ask a budget question? So, let's say
Yeah.
Whatever you
we
want.
take in some students this year to cover the 2 salaries, because she said she can come up with some more.
I'm saying,
I'm holding
I
you to
would
that.
offer that there's maybe some ways to do
But
that.
what I'm just, my question is, if I would commit to having choice students in if I was assured that money was gonna go for my assistant. What happens now the child next year is in 1st grade, why wouldn't that money stay with us? Why couldn't, because that child's going up all the grades, why wouldn't it, like you say, okay,
But
we.
the money does stay. It does.
No, it stays with us, but why
Well,
couldn't
no,
it be used for kindergarten assistants? That's
I
my
can answer
question.
that question.
It
Do
will,
you know what I mean? Like, can't you say, we've taken them, we know we took them for this reason, until we start sliding some of those salaries into the budget, maybe like one a year or half a year, and then eventually we don't have this
Yeah.
problem. I'm just not sure. Is that like something you can do?
Well,
If somebody
I mean,
remembers?
School choice, I have always had concerns about the school choice revolving account, because that seems to be the one we always go to, and to put salaries in it is not ideal.
Right. I understand that. That's why
I
I'm
know.
thinking if it happened as a temporary thing, as we move the money into the budget.
Well, the superintendent did, that was one of the things that
Yeah.
we
well,
talked
I
about
did it,
was
I thought about
sliding
it a
one
little
in.
differently though. I think you were thinking it as put it in there, you know, now, and then, you know, sort of move it out. And what I was saying is, if we can find it this year for one more, then the goal should be next year, you know, to add another, and then the next year to add another. So you wouldn't have everybody at once, but you would have them over time. That's how I got the full day kindergarten, right? That's how I did it, you know.
I
so,
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
You know, that should have, we can't go in hindsight, but that should have been the goal over the last 15 years, that every year
Oh,
maybe
we-
one should have went in.
Oh.
Because we knew that was like a temporary gift, but everybody says grant, and we just go with it, but I'm not really thinking.
Yeah, I do recognize that.
Yeah, and that's what the state wanted
That's the
us to do.
disappointing part for us.
State, that's what the state said, was
I think
basically
too,
saying.
we work so hard to build up this full day program. And, I think we all feel comfortable where it is now. We're doing Reader's Writer Workshop, we're doing small group instruction, we're doing guided reading, all the things that we've been trained to do. And it's definitely gonna be affected. It definitely is, with one person in the room, they're 5 years old. They're not, they come to school and they're not independent.
No.
And some of them don't, they don't reach that till the end of the year. We're lucky if some of them get it by January. And they always want your attention, so if you're working with a small group instruction, they're always gonna be like, Mrs. Dunham, it's gonna be
Yeah, I know.
different. It's
I-
definitely gonna be different. And with just 2 aides, I'm not sure how we're gonna do it.
No, and even with the 2 assistants rotating, we've looked at it. Our literacy block is in the morning. And that's when we need that big support, is that time. So we can do our double dosing. You know what that is. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yeah.
And all these strategies we've learned the last 3-4 years for small group instruction, we can't pull those kids. We have to manage the room now. So then what do? We don't do centers, so then what are they doing? Just whole group all the time, whole group? They don't learn. They learn by doing things hands-on. So, it's a management thing. Plus, I can't tell you the number of times kids turn around and go, Mom, because they're 5.
Yeah.
They know I'm the teacher, but they become so reliant on you for, tying their
Everything.
shoes, tears, giving them wipes in the toilet. I mean, our assistants don't just do clerical stuff. They're there, and we can only do that small group and pulling those literacy kids and giving them those 3 doses between us and the interventionist. We can only do that if someone else is going around the room checking their work. We don't give them busy work. So whatever they're doing is practice of the whole group lesson we've done. Now the assistant is looking at it, oh, I think you need to fix that. She's the one doing that while I'm just pulling 3 or 4, or even sometimes just one-on-one, because some kids can't even do 3 or 4. So, that's the kind of stuff we're doing, and we just feel it's sad that, our program that we've worked so hard, and you could see, I'm sure you have all our paperwork, our
Data.
data, and you'll see that where the kids are in September and where we can bring them. It's gonna be hard for us to meet our own personal goals for that. And then lunchroom, I can't even tell you the lunchroom, okay? 5 assistants with 5 classes, the kids can't reach anything in the lunchroom. It's not attainable. They're giving them stuff. They're helping them open. They're trying to keep them on task of eating. That's 1 for 20 kids. And now you're saying 2, yes, hopefully there's another person in there, but you don't know the level of need these kids have. That's why we feel so strongly. If you can find the funds, however we can do it, whether we take choice, and I'm only supporting choice if I have my assistant. If I can't have my assistant, I would say no to choice, because that's one more child in my room I have to meet the needs of.
Exactly.
1 or 2, so
Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
So
That's-
that, you
but
know,
that's
my feeling.
It's the hard part.
I think that's
it's
how
very
most of the
hard.
kindergarten teachers feel, because we did actually have a meeting.
And, yeah, Margaret
Um,
told me that's how you feel.
Yes, and
I
so
represented
we
that
did
too.
have that little meeting, and then we would worry about the rest after, how we would do it. Because I think after school was out, we got another email that choice was not an option. That's why, when I saw it on the
Yeah.
agenda, I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we talking about that? I thought that
Yeah.
wasn't an
Yeah.
option, so.
Well,
That's why we're here.
Because that is
so.
kind of how we thought it was. It wasn't an option because of the sustainability of the account. You know, I mean, it is really hard for you because there, you know, when we look at the budget, I mean, you know, you and Donna follow it, so
I
I
know,
know you
so-
know. You watch the meetings, I know that. It's just like there's so many puzzle pieces, you know, and that's the challenge,
And
right?
it's like, I mean, I understand the idea
Right.
of putting it back into the budget just a little bit at a
Yeah.
time, but we've just cut 3.5 full-time
I know.
equivalents.
I know.
I mean,
I
like the
don't
budget,
know,
it just keeps going down in terms
Right.
of our real costs. I mean, our ability to provide, you know, equally funded services just keeps.
I know. Don't forget, these people are at the bottom of like pay scales, they're not the people at the top,
Right.
and maybe the people that have left the district, those positions are being hired at a lower, and there might be some
Well,
extra money.
that's the only
So,
reason I'm
you know-
suggesting to the committee they could look at a piece.
Look at it that
of that
way.
third person. But there's not $50,000 in that account. I will tell you that for sure.
And as far as parents knowing that we're not gonna have the 5, I don't think they do know. They came to the presentation, it showed 5 assistants on the slideshow. In their mind, that was it. They're gonna come in, and when we say, oh, no, we don't, they're gonna be like, you don't? It'll be like,
that time,
even
they
though
probably
it
didn't
might
know
have
for
been in the
sure.
paper
We
or
didn't know for
something,
sure.
they
Right.
don't know. They don't know that
Yeah.
information.
Right.
But I think then, and again, you know, whatever can be worked out, can be worked out. But, you know, the other thing we may have to just go back a little bit to is having some parent volunteers. I know that's not reliable,
have them.
sustainable,
We
but I
do-
think.
we do have
But I think
parent-
we may
yeah.
have to just make sure that we are sure that parents really are encouraged to do that. Because at least when you're trying to work with kids, somebody could help manage centers
Probably
or
not
something.
easy
It's not
for you to
ideal.
have parent volunteers, but I will assure you it's wonderful for families. I mean, I learned at the
Oh, no, we
needs,
have
you know,
parent
We always
Yeah.
have
We
parent
Yeah,
always
these,
have
these
volunteers.
two do,
have
but,
them.
you know.
Yeah, we
how
definitely
to
have
be a good
parent
parent from
volunteers.
watching.
But we would
kindergarten
need them
teachers
throughout
of my
the
The
day.
children.
confidentiality, though, concerns me.
Well, that's always
I
our
always
concern
loved
too.
being a parent
Yeah.
volunteer, but,
Yeah.
you know, through the years, we've definitely experienced some issues.
It's something you
Um,
need to talk to
One of those
volunteers
things,
about.
you know.
Yeah,
They have a whole form we give them about being confidential. We hand it to them, they sign something,
Good.
and we hope that they, you know,
yeah,
adhere to
have
that.
a
We
policy
can only,
that we
Yeah.
do.
you know,
Yeah, and if they don't, they can't come. That's a hard
Yeah.
conversation to have, but that's what has to happen.
So then so we have the 2, and then you're saying .4 is at the library.
Right,
So
we
the
have
remaining, so
We
the
have,
point
in the
3.
in the kindergarten line,
Mhm.
we took 5 aides' salaries, and then we reduced it by the 56,000. So in our budget is, I don't have my staffing pattern, but I wanna say it was like 38 or 39,000.
Yeah, it's
Each
enough
of
at
the,
2
each of the pairs make, I'm guessing, I know it's 16.2, somewhere around that. So we had the difference. So it was like $6,000 or $7,000 or $6,500 left in that line. That's why when I think at one point I said, we have like 2.3 budgeted. There is, the library is budgeted at 0.4, because we cut it to 0.4.
But we need that, because that's
That's
directly,
covering, right.
that's servicing the
Yeah,
the kids, the teacher's prep time.
oh, when they go to library.
Right.
Yes,
So,
okay.
so each choice kid brings in 5,000. So even if you put one in every classroom, that's 25,000 plus we have the 6. So you'd be at 31.5. You're not there yet.
1.5.
Right. It's unfortunate, yeah.
Can I speak to that too? Is that okay?
Sure.
Do you want me to move?
No, you hang right there, she
Well,
can.
I just want to add on to what Fee was saying.
Can you just state your name and your address, please?
Sure, Danielle Pearl, 50 Sherwood Drive, Bradford, Mass.
Thank you.
Fee, you were saying that if we took 5 in, that would be 25,000. That's like almost half of what you were looking for the
Yeah.
budget. And where I'm coming from, and I know I spoke to you a couple weeks ago, there are 3 people that have that are trying to get their children in for kindergarten that already have siblings in the building. So when you're thinking about that, you know, that's 3 families that have already established in the building. You know, so technically it would only be 2 of us students, and then they could get, 2 faculty members back, 2 assistants back. So that's where, well, what I'm saying is that if we had 5 come in, that's $25,000. And if there's a little bit more money right now in the budget at the .4, that could be 2 assistants coming back. So there would be 4 total at that point.
Well, the .4 isn't an assistant that could be used for the building, it's gonna cover library services.
I think she means the point
The
three.
.3, yeah.
That,
Oh, I'm sorry,
that
point
Joan
three.
was talking about, where
Right.
we had.
That we have in
Oh,
the
the
budget.
2.3,
from
that's
the
a
grant,
$6,800 is what that was.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
63.
63, is that what you have?
And then
Um,
that could get 2 more assistants back in the kindergarten classrooms. Because I'm not disagreeing that the number is, you need 2 people in a kindergarten classroom, you absolutely do. But I'm just, trying
Yeah,
to also
63,
advocate
3, 4,
for
yeah.
myself and, my opinions, but that would get 2 more just by taking 5 kids, 1 kid for each classroom. That would bring back 2 assistants to the building.
That still leaves a class without an assistant, or some kind of
Yeah,
rotating.
then it would be like some sort of
One
rotational.
class is
And it-
better than 3.
And it does mean
Yeah.
that you're
We would do a
you're gonna have to
rotation.
every year fund that unless,
Also,
I
sounds
mean,
like
I don't know
more
what our budget's
salaries
gonna,
on the
I'm so
choice-
worried about our budget next year,
on the
ladies.
choice
I really
budget.
am. We're working with the town on a budget, what do you call it? A
Forecast.
Forecast, and hopefully there'll be some discussion about some creative solutions for down the road, not just for the schools, but for the other town departments. But if it goes the way it could go, we're gonna be cutting another $500,000 to $800,000. And I mean, as much as I love and I believe the kindergarten assistants are there, that's gonna compete with, class sizes for everybody else going up significantly more. So that's just the question is, how do we balance this? I think that's the issue. It's not that we don't believe you need it. I was a kindergarten teacher myself, I get it.
From a practical sense, when do we actually need to decide this? Is in terms
I would
of
love to look at the budget with Joan and see what else we could look at in terms of, with the new hires that we're making, I know, we are saving
Yep.
some.
Yep.
But it's all
You
you
know,
have, it's
school-
all you
I-
have.
I know.
Yeah.
Just
School
understand that.
choice is, I hate, and I'll say it, and I stand behind this, I do not like seeing salaries
I don't either, I agree.
on school choice.
I agree.
So that is one thing I'm not crazy about. And the reason is because it's not sustainable. It just
Right.
can't,
I agree completely,
it
Barbie.
can't,
it's 180
continue like that.
It's $185,000 right now
In salaries.
in salaries.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't want our community to look at this as our way out of things. And we're putting,
School choice, you mean?
yes, and we're putting our community children, we're not looking at their best interest, you know?
Well, we
Um,
appreciate it. If you look at it again and maybe see another solution, that'd be great.
From I'm gonna use the word recruiting, and I know that's not the right word, but from an advertising you know, if we come to the conclusion that we need 5,
Mhm.
when do we need to get this out there to be, because we
Right,
have to
because
get the
who's to
5.
say
Like,
that
if,
we'll get
if we
the
do this,
5?
we need the 5.
Right.
If we get a 3, it gets us partway there, but in a really uncomfortable way. I don't want to say, okay, we'll do 5, but then it's August 15th and
They've made other arrangements.
they've made other arrangements.
It
Exactly.
is late, it is late.
It is late. I thought it was the middle of July you did this.
Now, usually we say August 1st, but
Oh.
we hoped to do it earlier this year because the numbers seemed low.
Between 5 and 10, Laura got already for kindergarten, and not advertised.
Oh,
Unsolicited.
unsolicited.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
but that's probably since the beginning of the season, so
Right.
they
They might
could
have
already be placed. They
placed,
might
yeah.
have sent them out to 5
Do
places.
you keep that information?
Mhm.
So you have those. So realistically, what can we do with you, Joan, to sit down?
You can
and
do
just-
tomorrow. I mean, you can do any day. The other thought, Michael and I talked a lot today about the different revolving accounts. There is, I don't have, well, I do have my paper with me, 28.
I know an
20
easy way to get it is have
28,000.
people pay their lunch balances.
Yeah, we
right?
have other revolving accounts that are
No, but there's $28,000 left
Large
in
deficit.
athletics.
Right.
Last year, there was 32,000 left in athletics. So I know we did tap the district budget higher than we had planned, I think 12,000 or whatever. But they are, you know, we do charge $33,000 worth of coaches' salaries to
The
school
budget.
choice.
Right.
You know, you might, and it's just an idea. I mean, maybe his revolving account could take a little more, maybe another 10. I you know, it's just an idea I'm throwing out. We would have to sit down and go through
I mean,
all
I
the
certainly
numbers.
He
wouldn't-
usually doesn't make it every year.
Well,
How-
we did absorb some costs this year
Right,
with the lights
right,
and the
right,
thing. I
right.
mean, that's part of the issue,
Yeah.
but we didn't take it out of his revolving account.
No,
So he's
but
got
his
a
revolving
balance.
account is tight.
He also has outstanding.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna talk about that later.
About 10,000.
But if he
Revolving accounts?
I think he was 10.
he is at
Oh, you mean when we talk about the
9,200.
budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
9,200. So
I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but 5 school choice to me in kindergarten, I think is doable. I'm just saying this, you know, I'm not,
And 4 is better than 2.
and 10, anything
mean,
more than
for-
5,
Yeah,
I
no,
would not, I wouldn't even wanna think about, just because of, as we talked about, the high needs that is coming in, and, you know, right now, it's at 89. But I would love to
Sure,
do
anytime.
that.
Yeah.
If we could do that, but the thing is, would we then need to have a special school committee meeting, another one? We would.
We're probably
Well, you're gonna
We
probably
couldn't
have to
wait.
have one anyway, cause you gotta do the closeout. Cause Joan's gonna talk about that you're not ready to do the financial closeout.
When is the August school committee meeting? Like the,
August 25th.
so the 25th.
You might need something sooner than that though, because.
Yeah,
we
I would
know
think
we're
in the
gonna have
next
to end
week.
Oh, I don't know about week. So we're
Well-
gonna,
Well,
we have to
if
wait for
but
the
if
town
we-
to close.
If you're having budget and finance, you can't have it until
Wednesday.
Wednesday at the earliest.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, to post it.
Oh, yeah, I thought you meant another school, yeah.
Who's budget and finance?
Pam and me.
Pam and Michael.
And how's your availability?
I could do Wednesday. I'm out of town. Saturday through Tuesday.
Okay, we have a meeting Wednesday
just
morning
schedule
already,
something,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could certainly add on.
add on,
Make it a day.
Yeah, and I'd like,
You've done that before.
like 9
I'd
o'clock
like
or
to
something.
attend. Yeah, we can figure that out. Can you send out a
So
doodle?
post it for Wednesday? Did you wanna post it? Cause if she doesn't post it,
We'll post it
Okay.
for Wednesday and,
But then if we are, I guess the tricky thing is if we do hopefully figure out a way to do it financially, we then have to have a meeting to approve the seats. Which if that's Wednesday, the first time we can do that is when? I get confused by it would be Monday.
I won't be here that Monday.
okay, Suzanne should be back by then.
What about Margaret's input as well?
Should be back
she'll be
Monday.
back. Yeah,
Monday,
she's
Tuesday. She'll
So
be back
she could,
Tuesday.
She was actually
so
yeah,
we'll
Tuesday.
ask her to attend
On
that
when?
meeting,
When?
the Wednesday meeting.
The budget and finance.
Okay.
Which is the 3rd, and then the first
we-
time we could have a meeting would be the 8th to actually approve the spots if we can figure it out.
Yeah, if you need to take school choice.
Right,
You
if-
can
if
figure it
that's
out
the
another way, you
ultimate,
don't
yeah.
have to do that.
I think,
okay.
I think it's worth doing these extra meetings just to really find out exactly what we're looking at.
Sure, that's not a problem.
Noon on Wednesday.
Well,
I can't guarantee that it'll get posted at 8 AM.
Right.
Who knows
Yeah, that's
on
fine.
Monday.
So noon on Wednesday.
The noon.
Okay.
Okay, can do that.
That's fine.
Does that work?
Yep.
For you?
What is the date, Wednesday?
The 3rd.
I know, that's what I said. Oh, my gosh.
So that's what we'll do.
All right,
We'll
well,
just
thank
take a
you.
look
We
at it.
appreciate you
Appreciate
looking at it
looking at it
again.
No, I
again
think-
and seeing how you could help us out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just so we don't lose our program and the kids have support that they need. It'd be great.
Right.
Even if we shared more than two, we
Right.
could open a door and get help. Two, it's a little harder.
Yeah, okay,
You know.
Right.
fair enough.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
We'll
you
do
very
that.
much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming
you.
out.
To do that.
Thank you guys for being so open to those meetings. Okay, we're gonna talk about the hiring status as it, so you gave us a staffing update?
We did, yes. Jack talked to you a little bit about his department.
Yep.
Just gotta get to it here. Right, so, at Pembroke, we're still looking for a severe special needs teacher, which is the greenhouse program, kids that are moving up to the Sprouts. That's the Sprouts teacher, and actually, Margaret and her team interviewed, at least two people, because they did it at the central office. And I think, they've invited each of the people in to actually work with children in the summer program, so they could get a feel for that. And I think they're actually waiting for one to come back from Spain or something, so, there may be someone there that they're interested in, but we just, haven't, made any appointment. I thought, Laura, that the grade 2 one was filled.
Kirsten Waller.
Yes, Kirsten Lawler.
Oh, good.
Okay. So we can fill
Okay,
that one.
So just to clarify,
Yep.
Joanne Wilson is the grade 3 teacher.
Correct.
The permanent teacher. And Carrie Booton is Carrie McNulty, is that correct?
Her name is Booton. That's what she came in.
Well, the only reason I say is there are kids who got a letter saying their 3rd grade teacher.
Oh, maybe she got married. She must have just got married.
Mrs. McNulty.
Oh, she
Oh, she just got married then? Because when I talked with her, she was Booton.
Oh, funny.
Oh, how funny.
Okay.
She must have just got married.
Yes.
So what's her last name?
McNulty.
McNulty.
Because kids got
Great.
letters saying that.
Okay,
so.
good. Well, thank you for clarifying that.
And that's the long-term sub position, is that correct?
Melinda Patrick?
The
Nope.
Carrie Booton.
No, she's the 3rd grade.
Right, but I believe she's long-term sub. No.
It's a very good question, Cheryl. Monica moved.
Right, so I thought that
there was an open
Joanne's
position
one.
there. And then there's someone's on a maternity leave in 3rd grade, right? Elizabeth, right. So I'm not sure which one Margaret filled with who.
Oh, okay.
But I know Joanne was bumped
Right.
in the budget cuts. So
That's
she,
right.
okay, then that's what it is. So if she
Right.
took Monica's spot, that was a permanent spot.
Okay, so the other
Harry
one,
McNulty
Yeah.
is probably the one for the 1-year position.
yeah, okay.
Okay? And then there's a special education paraprofessional, I believe, that is the one that goes into the, Sprouts program, but not positive, but there is an open position. I know Margaret's been, working on that. The special education facilitator, Jack mentioned to you, we have someone that I'm meeting tomorrow, who comes very highly recommended, so we'd be very excited if we could, get that taken care of. And then the music teacher is, you may have heard that, remember Laura LaFlamme retired, but then Graham Terry, who was doing a .2 at Pembroke, but was basically going to take over the program for Laura. Well, he accepted a job in New York. His fiance, girlfriend, I know that they've been together a long time. I thought he was getting married. I think.
Just didn't give something away right there.
You know, maybe I've promised something that isn't gonna happen, but anyway, his girlfriend has gotten a job in New York, and he actually got a job in New York as well. So they're moving together, and so that's why he's leaving. He feels badly
such a
about it. He is. He feels badly
person.
about it because, Laura really worked with him for 2 years, and, I think they were hoping she would get a job closer to here, and that they would stay here, but it's just not gonna work out that way. So,
So
we-
who's
got the
conducting those
saddles.
interviews then if we don't really have any?
So
music?
Laura LaFlamme has actually got a team of people that are working, Laura's, completely dedicated to
Dedicated,
Georgetown
right.
and wants to see the program, you know, continue to be awesome, and so she said, you know, she would be willing, so she emailed me today and was just looking for a little information around parameters for the budget and all that, but they've got people that they're going to start interviewing, and
Oh, good, she
So-
has a network, she knows
She
people.
does, she
and
does.
that's
So-
great.
So when it says music teacher at Pembroke, it's the point
it's just
two.
the point,
It's
just
not.
yeah, no, it's just no, it's not Tyler. In terms of the middle high school, there's the band director and the music teacher. We did hire someone new, which is great. His name is Eric, and I was so impressed with him. He's coming from, I believe, Malden Catholic, and he's been their band director for 6 or 7 years, you know, quite a while. And he's young. He reminds me a lot of Corey Seepy, and also, you know, Anthony. I mean, he's got a lot of energy. He's been there working really hard to get things up and running, so I'm excited about that. The English teacher, the long-term substitute. Now, was that one of the ones, Joan, that you worked with Peter on? Or was it an English?
No, he hired a regular teacher.
Okay.
So is this for, is this for,
This
Ally.
English teacher is Ally,
The long-term sub.
the long-term
but
sub?
that's but it's not a long, it's like till October or something.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
Is your,
It's my mom.
it's your mom, okay, so.
Oh, wonderful.
Monica's mom did it for
She was the
us.
eighth grade.
Yes,
Great.
she retired, but then Michelle filled in for us for when Ally first went out in the
so
spring.
she's gonna
And
stay.
so there was a question of whether or not she was gonna stay, but she is gonna stay.
So I think Columbus Day weekend.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's what it is,
Oh,
okay.
good.
So, well, we
That's
can put
Good for me.
Michelle's name in
So
there.
who would be covering over, cause she's the head of the English department,
Ally.
Ally.
Yes.
So like if people had English issues with her gone, like what
I
happens
think
then? Do
you'd
they
work
just
with
go to
Peter. I think they'd go with Peter.
Okay.
And then what would happen is Peter would probably direct them to the teacher, whoever the teacher
Because
was.
it's the same with math, with Paula Utterly,
Paula
because she
Utterly.
was the head of,
Right, well, he did appoint somebody to be the
Math
department head.
do you know who that is?
I do.
Is it Reed?
Lisa Reed.
Lisa
Oh,
Reed.
It is Lisa
wonderful.
Reed.
Wonderful.
Okay.
He had two people he was considering. Both were given the opportunity to consider it, and you know, Lisa had stepped forward, and the other one just wasn't quite sure, and
Okay.
so Lisa Reed is going to be the department head. So that
So
won't be a
will-
problem.
Lisa Reed still be teaching?
She-
Oh, yeah.
No, I think she's
Okay.
teaching.
She's
I think
nine.
she's teaching high
She's no
school.
longer in
High
middle
school.
school.
Okay.
Yeah, she's going to teach high school. Okay, so the long-term sub then, it sounds like is still open. Bill Pachillis, you notice, is coming back as a long-term
Oh,
sub.
the English long-term sub is covered by,
Oh, yeah,
Monica's mom.
That's right, Michelle.
Right.
Pull out. Okay, perfect. And then we've got Bill, and then, so the special education teacher is, Tara Early. So remember Tara Early, who was in the Compass program, is accepted a job in Andover. So that position, Jack and I had a conversation about that today.
and Tara is the one that came here a few times.
Yes, with Robert, yes, I know,
Yes, I know. It's
it
a
was
very
very,
sad
very sad,
loss.
she's awesome. But she's gonna still coach field hockey for us, and she's offered to, you know, help with the transition, and Tara's just that kind of person, she would make sure that, you know, things were left in good shape. But Jack has got that job posted, and, we'll, you know, be working on filling that. And then the special education facilitator, as Jack said, I'm meeting with a person tomorrow that he and Peter like, and hopefully, you know, that we'll get a contract with that person tomorrow. Because those are really critical positions, you know, we want to have the parents meet them, and,
Yes.
you know, parents really count on the facilitators in each building.
For sure.
At the district level, sadly, we're working on filling Joan's position. Physical therapist, you heard Jack say, is still open. He's been interviewing. We actually at one point did have one. And then she was counting on, it was a part-time position, she was counting on getting, partnering it with another position, and then she ended up not getting the other position, so she couldn't afford to stay with our half-time position. And then we've been trying, it's hard to get half-time people in that kind of a position. Sometimes what districts will do is they'll contract out. When it's a part-time position, it does tend sometimes to be a little more expensive to do that, though. But we have to have a physical therapist because we have children on IEP, so we, you know, Jackson continue to work on that. And then we have 2 BCBAs, and those that just happened, like recently. that's concerning to us. One is going to Andover and one is going to North Andover, so, you know, we do have to fill those. So right away, we're getting out there and trying to, the good news is more and more people are getting certified as BCBA's now, where before there were very few people, you know, who were in that. And Jack also has a contact that, you know, has BCBA's available for contract. So we're just gonna have to see how that's all gonna shake out.
Can Crest be a resource to
Yep.
find candidates?
Yep, yep. And that's exactly one of the things Crest wants to do, is be able to be in that position. Crest also contracts
Right.
BCBA's too, but,
But they might know
but
people
they
who
might
are
know,
actually looking for
exactly,
full-time positions.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So that's where we are with the staffing. We do have a month, you know, so we're not panicking.
No,
But,
this is,
you know, I just wanna keep
still
giving you the
hiring
updates.
season. We're
Yep.
in the
Yep, it is hiring season.
high
And,
season.
you know, Jack and I were talking about, you know, the pool, cause sometimes you start getting nervous at this time of year, you know, are you gonna get a decent pool? But he was pleasantly surprised, you know, with, you know, the two facilitator candidates, you know, came in this round. I said, sometimes in the early summer, people go on vacation, they don't see the postings, and then they're not up forever. And then, you know, maybe they catch it the second time around, you know, so,
Well, 2-3 weeks from now, I'd be.
yeah, we
concerned,
would
but
too.
right now,
This isn't unusual,
I
this
think-
is actually really, we're in
Right.
good shape compared to
Yes.
some years when we've, you know, but we cut people, so we didn't anticipate having quite as many positions to hire, but we do.
And what's the status of the finance director?
Well, we have a couple of people, Joan and Michael and a small team of Julie and Tricia and Mike Anderson was part of that and Jack was part of it. Met last week, with what'd you have an age?
We met with four.
Four. Sort of two are sort of finalists. So Michael, Joan and I met with two of the finalists the other night. And we've been checking references, but we do wanna have an executive session with you because we wanna look at contract parameters and that kind of thing, so we can fill you in a little bit more then, but that's kinda where we are right now. Okay? Any other questions about staffing?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna go into financial report.
So I had hoped to be able to close out the year by this meeting, but we still have some adjustments that are waiting to be posted. If you looked at the budget, typically the last budget report you get at the end of the year has all zeros in the available budget. So those negative balances don't hit you like these negative balances
yeah,
did.
some of them are.
But it's not a bad thing because it really shows you where we did overexpend lines. I mean, we never overexpend the bottom line, but there, Michael's first question was about maintenance. Why did we go so far over budget in maintenance? And I think, we talked about most of the things. We had to pick up a good chunk of the Pearly roof, a good chunk for us of the Pearly roof, if you
I
recall
recall
back
that when
in the fall.
CPC, yeah.
So that was, I don't know, almost $30,000 or $25,000. We also got hit with the need to replace the lift. We originally were gonna repair the lift at the high school, and the company told us that would be a waste of money. They couldn't even get parts for some of it. We did not know that when we built our FY17 budget. So we did sit and wait and to see
We
where
did,
we
yeah.
stood, because we did have a budget freeze, to see where we stood.
And so that's all fixed?
That is fixed. If it's not fixed completely, at least we're able to encumber and expend the money. I think it is fixed. I think
Yeah.
Julie even paid the bill already.
Fixed or replaced?
Replaced,
Replaced.
sorry,
Okay.
replaced.
So it's-
We got hit at the end of the school year with some significant issues with the Pearly elevator.
Yeah.
That was in there. And then Mike did we okayed him to buy two pieces of equipment. One is the machine that
For the
paints
side-
the
paint,
lines
right.
on the parking lot, and the other one was an attachment for his tractor that does rototilling of the fields. So they were each about 6,000.
Oh, you mean aerating? Is it
Yeah,
ro-
well,
is
he
it-
called it
Oh,
rototilling
then
of the
maybe,
clay,
maybe
I
it's,
don't.
maybe, okay, that's it.
He's
turning the
watching,
clay.
because he keeps texting me, so he'll probably text in and tell me exactly what it
No, you're
is.
probably right, it probably is rototilling, because they probably are turning over the clay, that
Right.
makes sense.
So that's the significant increases. So sometimes it's not a bad idea that it does show all these negatives. It really shows you, and for example, in special ed, it shows you, we saved a significant amount of money in our legal expense line typically. I mean, last year Donna expended it, and I think we even moved money into it last year.
We did.
She only spent a little over $18,000
Can you
this
tell me
year.
what page special ed's on?
First page.
The first page
Oh.
at the bottom.
The 40 is the legal.
So the one question I have for you, thank you for getting back to me with all the questions that I had and then that Michael had. The school committee line, so the legal line, we talked about the deductibles
Yes,
that we paid two, the town paid one.
right.
What is on a go-forward basis, what is the real deal? Like, who is
I
supposed
think
to
we
be
have
paying
to,
that?
I think we have to have a conversation with
What-
the town on
What-
that,
what-
because that came out of the complete blue
What Mike
for us.
Farrell
Well,
told.
we should have, I mean, maybe they'll reimburse us, that's 15,000 right there.
What Mike Farrell said
Maybe.
to me is, when this first came up, he had sent over the invoices, I sent them back, 'cause
Right, I
Julie told me we've
remember.
never paid that before
We
in
never have.
anything.
So I don't understand, like,
So
how we can,
He didn't budget.
He
I'm sure
called,
for
but
it.
he
we
called,
didn't either.
he called me and said, the next
Good
time you
point.
have anytime you get a lawsuit like that, you should encumber $7,500 right off the bat, as soon as you know, as soon as you get notice about something, that you really are gonna have to encumber that, because they can't take it on their budget either, they have no room in their budget. So, we didn't know, so like,
But I mean, there have been lawsuits before now, and we've never
That's
paid
correct.
them. So
Correct.
that's why I wonder, like,
perhaps
how
maybe
do
it was
you-
because it was 3 in 1 year,
But
that
I-
they had to pay the deductible,
but
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
what is common
yeah.
practice in other towns?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, do you know
I
that?
don't know.
No.
But I think we have to have a conversation with the town about it, because I don't know what would happen, let's say the police department got sued.
Right,
So would
who-
they say to the police department, okay, you have to come up with $7,500 out of your budget, or the fire department? I mean, their budgets are very small, you know, so, I mean, I guess I'm just curious about that, like what,
Yeah.
you know, what's fair for one should be fair for all. We don't have insurances in our budget, we don't carry that. Just like, you know, I know I wasn't here for the discussion that you had with the tri-board on utilities. But
Right.
we don't have utilities in our budget, so I don't think we should be in a position to start taking the ones the town feels they can't afford. Either we get all the utilities and we get the benefit of that, or we don't take any extra utilities. I think we have to have a discussion with the town, because it really, we can't live with, all of a sudden it pops up that the town can't afford it, so now somehow the school's gotta stop, you know, spending what it needs to spend money on to find the money.
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's have a meeting
Yeah.
and just find
Yeah.
out.
I think
Just-
everybody
just so
agreed
we
to that
know.
at the tri-board meeting,
Good.
yeah.
But, yeah, about the deductible, though, I'd like to know exactly,
What do you
on
want
a
to know?
go-forward
what
basis,
we're
who's
gonna do.
responsible for them.
Yeah.
And why has it changed from what it was before?
And I think what
Why
Joan is telling you
before?
is because there were 3 in 1 year, I think it just wasn't
Well,
anything the town.
Yeah,
mean, but,
so it's a
you know-
cap, you can only have one a year?
No, I don't know.
But
You shouldn't
like,
have any,
was
but if
that
you have
ever-
to have
Was that
them.
ever communicated? Is that common practice? Is that, you know?
It was not
Yeah, I would
communicated.
like to know how
Yeah.
other districts handle it, like, what,
Yeah.
you know, like.
Can we
is it
find that out? I
town?
guess
I
we
could
could
put
just
on my
put on
list,
listserv,
yeah.
yeah, we can put on listserv.
So then when we look at the turf field, the lights and the porta potty, I'm assuming where it says turf field restrooms, it's a porta potty.
It's a very nice way.
Yeah, so $7,500 and then 4,000 in utilities.
What page is this?
So the last page, page 19.
Okay.
So what is going on with the rental of that? Because if you look, the rental of the turf field, $750.
No, that's an expense.
Oh, hence the negative in front of it.
That's an expense, I don't,
So we have nothing
That's
in,
it, that, you know-
field rentals, no,
Well, this doesn't show the revenue
We-
side.
no, and I didn't give you revolving accounts. That, I did look up that today, the field, somebody said something about the field
Yeah.
rental.
Yeah, was that
That
in
is,
there?
he rented something, Chris rented something in Danvers for the volleyball team.
Right.
For them to, I don't know, practice games,
Oh.
I don't know, something like
Right.
that. So that was an expense. I don't have the facilities, I will get that for the next meeting, and if you
So
want it
it-
for Wednesday, that's fine too, we can talk about what we've taken in
Yeah, that's
in
good.
rental. We have rented the
At the budget and
field.
finance?
We
Okay.
haven't rented it a lot, but we've rented it. We need to go back developing a policy
Have we
about.
rented it to cover
11
a
and
portion
five.
of
Could be.
anything on those?
Could be. I don't know what's in there, but I could have it for you Wednesday. Could be. I know that we had a men's lacrosse league play there, and they paid. That goes into, I believe,
Doesn't that go
it goes
the
into
neat-
facility
so
use.
facility-
Fa-
yeah.
Facility use. It doesn't go into the athletic revolving. So,
But I think the challenge with that, I think we have talked about that at budget and finance, is that, you know, the availability of the rental opportunities for the field right now are less than they should be in the future. Because, you know, right now, because the GAA, I mean, we're dealing with all the fields that are still not playable. Right now, the GAA is using that not only for games, but also for practices, and it's used a lot. So the availability of the opportunity to rent it is, and the GAA is, from the guys that we meet with, is absolutely, completely in agreement that there needs to be opportunities to rent the field. They get it, because they know that we're paying for these other expenses. The problem is, until those fields come online, it just makes it difficult, because then they don't have any other places to play.
but we could set up the facilities rental account, the revolving account, so that we did charge the utilities. I think we were afraid that if we didn't encumber the money in the budget,
It'd go in the
and
red.
we didn't have enough money in that account, we'd be stuck. So
Okay, money
we were
somewhere.
worried. But if we did get on a regular routine
Rental,
of,
right.
you know, generating $25,000 or $30,000 worth of revenue from the turf field, then obviously those budget line items would come out of
Right.
the high school budget and go into the revolving account. But at the time, we didn't have any revenue coming
Right,
in.
right.
We have it, people will pay to rent a gym or whatever, it's peanuts. It's really peanuts.
$50 an hour.
And even then, our gyms aren't really available, right? Because
No, I know,
our
we're,
town uses
yeah,
them.
and I understand that without all the other, fields online, that the turf field is getting, I mean, I'm thrilled to see how
Yeah.
busy it is.
Right.
And I don't wanna make it sound like I'm not so appreciative to the GAA for their very, huge donation, and if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't happen.
wouldn't be there, right.
But that just, it's a
Right,
lot
but-
of money.
Right, but if you think about the summer, basically the summer was lost for us this year because the GAA had no place else to play, and we knew that. So if you think that next summer, if the field, well, probably won't be next summer, right? The field's coming on at Pembroke and
In the spring,
Oh,
I mean,
the
the fall of,
yeah,
fall of
so-
17.
But in a normal summer, if you could have that ability to rent that field, we had a lot of requests. And we could do advertising, and if we beefed up our policy a little bit and really got more competitive, you know, still stay a little low because we don't have stadium seating
no
and all
seating.
that. But
And also stay a little low to get people to come.
get people
like,
to come, but for the teams that used it, like the men's lacrosse league, you know, I'm not saying they don't have fans, but they don't have fans like young kids would have parents, and so people, they're not looking to pay a lot and have a big stadium. They're happy with a field like that. They were very happy with the field. So I think you could generate a lot more revenue, but you know, you'd have to have it available for the 2 months of the summer, because that's when you're gonna be able to rent it.
Right, because during the school year.
It's very
pretty-
busy,
It's very
yeah.
busy.
Question that I had on the budget side, and this is admittedly the 17 budget. Did we budgeted $3,000 in 17 for lights? Did we have anything in 16?
No,
We did. Okay, so the 3 is a new
right, we must have moved it, right.
number. Okay.
Because I think your first year, you'd want to know about how much it was
Right.
going to be, right?
Right,
So
I think
you-
that's why we
Trying
tracked
to, there
it.
was no way to get a
Yeah,
real
no,
number.
for sure.
Right.
So it's 3,000.
No,
For
it's-
next,
Yeah,
well,
for
for
next
next year
year.
we have 3. We spent 4 this year.
Yeah, right.
And who knows?
But we did have an issue with the lights, and I think it's more under control now.
Mhm.
Where there was lots of nights that, you know, people would say to Mike, we went by the field, nobody there, lights were on. So he has had, you know, a few conversations, and it has gotten better about people paying attention to
Because
turning
they
lights on.
schedule it. So if there's, permit says 6:30 to 9, but
Right.
then the coaches leave at 8, the lights stay on because they're on the timer.
Oh.
So that's part of the
Yes.
problem.
My question is more broadly about athletics. In part, you know, we were $12,000 over budget in terms of the budget, and there was $3,000 in transfers, so it's a minor thing. there's 12 there, there's 33 in choice, there's 68 in the budget. That's a $113,000 subsidy to the athletics program. And I wholeheartedly believe that athletics is more than about winning games. There's a lot of learning that happens there. I think we need to explore the services that we provide, just sort of the whole athletics department. That's a serious amount of money at $113,000 that we're pulling out of the budget in various places. I would really appreciate if we could sort of dig into that and figure out how to make that not be $113,000. And, you know, my goal is certainly not to raise fees, but what can we do? Because that's, I mean, those are kindergarten age. Like, we could spend that money 100 different ways. And if it needs to be spent this way and we study it and it makes sense that it's there, fine. But it's $113,000 out of a, where did I see the number? Out of a $334,000 budget. It's a third of the athletics department is being subsidized essentially by the budget. So I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, we can
Study.
certainly look at all of it. I mean, the history on it is when the failed override, just before I came, happened, it was all cut. It was all cut. It was 100% was funded by parents. And those fees were even higher than they are right now. When the override we got came, because there was so much pressure on people about the fees, and people were feeling like it was another tax. The agreement was that we would try to help offset that by putting money in the budget. That's where the $68,000 came in.
For sure.
Because that, again, it was the same discussion. So do you want math teachers or do you want sports? It depends on who the committee is at the time, right? But the committee at the time, and since then, has felt that athletics is part of the core curriculum. It's not the academics, but it's a co-curricular activity and it needs to happen. And the fear has been, you know, at one point when we did the override, we put the 68 in, we lowered the fees. And then what happened is, now the fees have crept back up again.
Right.
And we haven't moved them for the last, at least a
Yeah,
couple of years
at
anyway.
least 3, I would
But
say.
that,
Right.
they were among, there used to be a gentleman, Michael, I don't know if you were on the committee, but there used to be a gentleman who used to, out of the South Shore, who used to, remember, we used to.
Yeah, the booklet of
He so periodically, like every few months, we'd all statewide get this nice little spreadsheet, and it compared all the fees of everything across the state. Everybody reported their
Right,
fees.
even the parking fees,
And
the
our
kids'
athletic
like
fees
everything.
are among, if not
The
the
highest,
highest
yeah.
in the state.
I
And that was what was difficult, you know?
don't doubt that for a moment.
Yeah,
Um,
so everything should be looked at for sure, but I'm just giving you the history of what I know since I've been here.
Is there, with the assistant principal at the high school becoming the halftime AD, halftime principal, is that a net savings? I don't remember
It was a net savings in the district budget, because Chris was going back into the classroom.
Right.
So we were able to reduce a portion of a teacher.
Right.
That ended up being the
0.4.
savings, right?
Yeah.
So there's no,
Okay.
so Mr. Prescott still makes the same salary.
right,
He does different jobs.
right.
But
But part of his is funded out of the athletic revolving.
16,000 is
16 stays.
Yeah,
Right.
16 would
Okay.
just be, but
In
the
athletic
savings
revolving.
was because Chris bumped back, because Chris made a full teacher's salary plus the 16.
Right. Okay.
So we were able to save on the coverage of the teaching position.
Okay.
Can I just ask, if you could tell me a little bit about this preschool salary here?
I think it might be an error. I told Michael, I'll get a final copy and I'll be able to tell you that. I didn't know what it was and I don't recall talking about it, but perhaps I did. I don't know, to my staff. So that's on my
The
list.
26,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
That's on my list.
Okay.
So I will be back for another meeting. I don't know when the meeting will be, but, if you have another meeting,
And then I'm done.
I mean, I probably will be still here for the 28th, but if you, or the 25th, or whenever it is in August, you have it. But if we have another meeting, we'll do budget and finance, and we'll get this cleaned up next week. Hopefully, the adjusting entries have been made at the town hall, and you'll get a clean copy. And I did tell Michael I'll give him all the revolving account balances, what were scheduled for, what I know more today than when in the budget book, if people have changed and the salaries have changed. And then, you know, at least you'll have a starting point.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
the
and-
town didn't close the books when they typically do, that's part
Yeah,
of
they
it.
was a little late this year, but,
Yeah, they're
you know, we
closing
have
in
new
August
numbers,
this-
so.
They're closing in August this year as opposed to July, that's part of the reason Joan doesn't have all this.
Over the summer, what's being done about collecting money towards like the athletics and?
Well, Joanne has been
Lunch.
working on it. I have a mail merge ready, so if the school committee passes the policy,
Tonight,
No pressure, but,
I'll be stuffing it into envelopes tomorrow. To,
I know, I still have such a hard time with that policy.
right, and you guys have to decide what
with
you
what
want.
policy?
With-
The the
Yeah,
meal
with the number
policy?
of lunches and
Oh,
then.
the- yeah.
Oh, I'm
no
not asking
lunches.
for the,
No,
No, oh,
I'm
you
asking
mean
for the
the fees
collection
that
of
go ahead,
funds.
yeah.
To be able to
I
collect the
still,
money.
I know.
Well, we're gonna talk about that.
The,
you know, and with the meal policy, that's not so important for me to pass tonight, but it's really important, the school committee makes a decision on the collection of fees.
Right.
Because I can't tell people I'm gonna take them to court if the school
Right, if
committee
you-
hasn't
yeah.
decided that's what we're gonna do.
right,
So,
so Joanne's been
Joanne's
working
been
on it.
working on it very hard, for preschool and athletics. I gave, Michael the numbers that I had
Yeah,
at the end of the school year, and I think Joanne probably has collected more. I went back through my emails trying to see if she had given me an update. I didn't see one from athletics. Preschool, I'm pretty on target with that one. The people that Joanne's been telling them, you know, that they're not gonna be allowed to enroll their students come fall. We have like maybe 6 or 8 returning students that owe. And they're not the high, heavy ones those people are gone from preschool, which will probably have to take the court route. But she has been telling, because I got copied on an email today where she had told a parent that they owed money and that if they didn't pay it soon, they were not gonna be able to return in the fall. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's gonna affect
Right.
a lot of people, but it's gonna say, it says it in the policy, so, you know, it's not just, you know, an idle threat from somebody just emailing somebody.
right.
Well, so-
And what about doing like a cross-checking, like you would
Right,
mention,
we're
you
gonna
know, like
ask,
to see if there's, you know, they have athletics and they
Right.
have the
Heather,
meal.
Heather had said that, I think it was Heather had suggested that maybe Wes could make us a spreadsheet, so a Google Doc that we could all just go, I'm sure it's not
Yeah,
a big
just so
deal,
we
and so we
could
could all go in and look,
cross-reference.
and then we'd post to that one sheet, and so we'd always know where we stand. And if you do have the policy approved tonight, I think athletic registrations is
Yeah,
next
August,
week.
yeah.
Next week.
August
or-
3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
August
so
3rd.
next week, so, you know, Joanne would be able to give that out with the packets, so that people would understand they need to pay their fee, and
But there's still installments.
Yep.
People can still
we didn't
do
change
their
that.
athletic installments.
No, but that's one of the things that we probably should talk about, because it's not the first 2 payments that people are not, it's the 3rd payment that people
Yeah, because
are-
the season's over by
That's
then.
right. So the question is, you know,
Well,
do we
just schedule
wanna,
it
do we
differently.
wanna schedule it differently and say, look, we'll do it in 2 installments,
Mm-hmm.
right? But, yeah, you know, if it's not paid by halfway
Yeah,
through the
they can't
season,
play.
you know, we may have
Yeah,
to do
we're
that.
gonna have to do something like that.
Right, so that
Some
may
of these
be,
seasons are relatively long, that you could certainly
Long enough, yeah.
still do the 3, I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, do you have a question? Did I interrupt you?
No, I was just saying, or I was just asking, are monies coming in from the food bills and the preschool?
Heather hasn't been here for a couple weeks, so if it did, I haven't seen it. It just goes into the safe until her or somebody comes in. I haven't seen
So
anything.
does she not work over the summer?
She works a
She-
number
she-
of days, but
She doesn't have like a full year contract, but she does have some summertime.
Okay.
yeah,
I think it is worth pointing out, it's $39,000
total.
total that we're owed, which is not,
That's a lot of money.
it's not
That's a
nothing.
lot of money
Mhm.
in a budget like ours.
I totally agree.
And especially when, really, the time that it impacts is the end of the year, when the budget is already tight, and then suddenly we have to find $39,000 that we were expecting to get that we don't.
Yeah.
Right,
And I
well,
can-
the only one we had to make good on really was, the food services.
Right,
And a little bit of athletics, but, mostly food services because it's a regulation, state regulation that we have to do it,
but it's things like the Pearly Elevator comes up,
right?
Right.
we don't have the money to spend there because we're
Right.
waiting on it, so.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the policies that you've been passing that sort of, you know, don't give people quite as much latitude to have it go on as long as probably it's been allowed to go on, you know, is gonna help too.
Yeah, those are the ones, and I appreciate all the work that you did to get those, the change, but I still am like, oh, how can you ever say no to a child?
know,
Because
I know.
sometimes that's the only meal they have. so I know we're like, it's a catch-22. We have to do that to get the money, but
Well, I think
I
in a
don't know, I'm
situation
just-
like that, I think it should be so few kids that we would know that, and we would, we have social workers and people who can work with the family to help with that kind of stuff. I mean, I hear you, Barbie, but I don't think it's gonna be
there's
I don't
free and
think that's
reduced
the
lunch
majority
that,
of people,
You know,
you know what I
somebody
mean?
Yeah.
applies for
Well, or-
free and reduced lunch, I mean, that shouldn't be an issue.
Or if they are allowed, I'm just saying 15
Yeah.
charges well before they get to 15.
Yeah, there's
Guidance
intervention,
and
yeah.
need to step in so it
Yeah,
doesn't
and so
get
what's
to
the
that
concept? Yeah.
is
And if
the hope and
someone
dream.
does apply for free and reduced lunch, it's not, they don't have to reveal that, that isn't obvious, nobody else need know.
No, now the way we've got the point of sale, it's
Nobody
not
knows.
like anybody, there's no
It's not like
exchange of cash.
anybody would
yeah,
ever,
yeah, yeah.
the child would even know.
No.
I mean,
No.
it's,
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else have any questions on it? Okay, so we have a, lease, a 3-year truck lease for Mike, right?
Yeah, so, I wasn't at this meeting, but, I think the last truck that the selectmen gave us was, from the, did I put it in there?
Light department usually.
The highway department,
The
I
highway
put.
department, okay.
Yeah, the highway
Oh, yeah,
department.
the light department was a couple of years ago.
Oh,
That
yeah,
little,
yeah,
that little,
that
I think that's
sort of-
gone.
The-
That
Sort
little
of
truck.
Anyway, so the
Thanks,
selectmen
but no
had,
thanks.
the selectmen had asked us to try to build into our budget a lease payment, like we did with the computer payments, so to turn over a new lease every 3 years, so that you're constantly trying to keep your vehicles upgraded, up to date. So our last payment, for the blue truck, it was this past year, so we kept it in the budget. I went up a little bit, I'll have to make a transfer from one of, $1,400 from one of Mike's other maintenance accounts. But it is to purchase, it's the same truck, I think.
Yeah, just a new
F-250,
model.
And,
Yeah.
it's gone up in price a little bit. I just need a vote tonight, and then they'll send us the paperwork, and I have to give them a copy of the minutes, and then I'll have to have Bobby, you'll have to come in and sign the paperwork on
Okay.
it, but.
Is the, and I guess I don't know on the, leasing from the public side, 6.5%?
Yeah, that's,
that
That's not a good rate.
That's
no, that is not the
It's not.
municipal lease.
Yeah, why,
I don't know, we could seek out and see
I would
if
just
we
be
could.
curious why that,
It does seem like a high.
yeah.
You must be a risk.
I know, like, if that's it, obviously.
No,
but
you wouldn't think we'd be a risk.
I would think we wouldn't be a risk.
Teasing.
Would we be surplusing something, or are
I
we just
think
adding a
I
vehicle
think
net?
we have, 3 maintenance guys now, so,
Yeah.
maybe they would keep that other, do you see the white, little kind of broken down truck in the parking lot at Pearlie?
Yeah.
They probably will keep that,
Okay.
because Mike drives one and
I
then.
think they can do little things with that. I mean,
Yeah, well,
I
they bring,
do see
you
them
know, the
trap.
landscaping
Yeah.
stuff and everything.
Okay.
But I can seek out and try to, if you at least approve it, then I can get
Yeah.
going on it, and then, I can see if there's a cheaper way to finance it.
So I just have a question about there's just a discrepancy on the orange notes versus the actual contract. Which number am I going with? The
Did I
30,
make a mistake on my memo?
35,
No, you might have made a
438?
mistake. I would-
That's the cost of the truck, but
Okay.
but with the
Oh, with the
interest,
interest,
financing.
so the 38,
the
272?
38, right, is what needs to be approved.
Okay.
Okay.
So I will make a motion to approve the 3-year annual truck lease in the amount of $38,272.54 with annual payments of $12,757.18 with Ford Credit Municipal Finance as
So moved.
presented.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good luck with that, Mike.
Since he's watching.
I know. He's probably like, I think I know.
You'll be
Okay.
happy.
Okay, subcommittee reports. Budget and finance.
We met, and I actually realized that the minutes were not done.
You can go.
can say if you
We went
want.
over primarily the end of the year kind of line item
Yeah.
transfers. We talked about the arrears. The only thing that we sort of haven't talked about tonight is food services came in light, which is something that we need to explore. People need to buy lunch.
And pay for it.
And pay for it.
Preferably.
Both, yes, I guess they need to both sides. And I think that was the bulk of our conversation. I have my notes from it, but not in minutes form, which,
Okay.
Yeah,
That sounds like the
sounds
highlights.
like a good
Yeah.
summary.
Governance,
Have you and Suzanne met?
we're meeting next week or the week after sometime.
Okay, so the last, governance report we gave the last meeting, that was the last.
yeah, the
time
notes
we-
are in here, yeah. Okay, negotiations, we're meeting next week, to discuss the superintendent's,
What time were we doing
salary,
that, Verdi?
10.
Okay. The only reason, I thought we didn't have a department head meeting, but Mike sent an email out today saying that all the department heads had to come because they're setting up goals and objectives that, you know, are in anticipation of another meeting. So I will just check with him if that's gonna start at 9. I mean, I can just say to him, I can stay an hour. I just didn't realize.
It's the
what
only
I-
thing on the agenda, he said.
Yeah, it's the only thing on the agenda, but I just don't wanna not go, but I certainly can make a 10 o'clock meeting, I think.
Okay,
So we'll just do that.
safety, we haven't met, start school later, we have not met. There was a great article in the paper,
Mhm.
that, provided the public with the results from the survey. We also had those results on the Facebook.
For you, I think.
And also on the school website. Superintendent goals, is that an actual subcommittee?
Yeah, I think so. Well, we haven't met. It's after we should meet.
Yeah, we
Just, okay.
Right, it's been a while.
New member
I
orientation.
still haven't done that yet.
Should though.
Yeah, we
Yes.
School building committee.
School building, yes. Okay, quite a bit actually has been happening. So on July 12th, we had a meeting, a regular meeting. Pembroke, we talked about the landscaping, and I think we've had a lot of community conversation about the landscaping. Everybody pretty much knows, no one in Georgetown were really not happy with what's been done so far, and I'm going to talk more about that when I talk about the July 24th meeting, because that was the sole subject of that. The audio system was finished July 25th and 26th. How is it? Is it good?
I don't know.
I hope so.
I'll
Okay.
double check. And I let Wes go. I should have, I'll ask about the audio system.
Mike Farrell wants to know why the electricity bills are so high, twice as the old Pembroke. We
It's
did,
huge compared to the old Pembroke.
yes, it is
I
huge.
But it's less than what was predicted by the architects, and it's less than the middle high school, which is a slightly larger square footage, but it's in that.
And that must be because of the newness, I would think, like the.
Well, I think it's the
Yeah.
efficiency of the
Efficient, yeah.
systems, yeah. But they
Yeah.
did say that they don't track it easily. They track it the first year, but they don't always know that the first year is so accurate, because the systems are just getting
Right,
up
the
and
first
running.
year is not
But it's
a good
usually
year
better
to
than the first
determine.
year.
It's
Right.
usually
What
better in the
it's gonna
first
be.
year?
It's better
after the
worse.
first year.
It's usually worse than the first year.
Right, and I do think that it is, a good idea to just explain to the teachers that, shut the computers off, that,
I think
just
it's all
things
by,
like
a
that.
lot
I
of
mean,
it's
it
by
does.
automatic, it just, like Mike was
Not
explaining at the
computers.
tri-board meeting, which is
The what?
another meeting
Not
we had on the
computers and
18th of
Right.
July, that everything is pretty much on, automatic. I mean, the teachers really, there's not a lot of room to improve
Well, I mean,
on
computers
lights
will
and
go to
stuff are
sleep.
turning out the lights.
Computers will go
Is
to
that
sleep,
true?
but they won't actually
Yeah.
shut off.
Shut off automatically.
Yeah,
The
Right.
lights, but not the computers.
yeah,
The
not
computers
stuff that's
and
plugged into
smart
it.
boards shut off automatically too after a certain amount of time.
Right.
Are they in standby mode or are they off?
Or they let,
They're probably in standby mode.
it shuts it off.
Fully?
The ones in the lower.
I'm not doubting, I'm sorry.
We're just wondering, you're there, we're not there.
It does. I'm not
Okay.
sure about the smart boards that they shut off. They're on standby.
Okay.
They
Right.
will be
Yeah,
Which
so
uses
that's.
And
that's-
ever so slightly
also,
less power.
the original
Right,
estimate did
so
not
it's-
include plugins, so it might have been a little bit low in that respect. But we discussed that later. Okay, and then the school building committee voted that all future Pembroke expenditures need to go through the subcommittee, which is normal at this time of the project, so Mike Anderson has been informed of that, right? Okay, that day, on the 12th, so we talked about the high school. The job is 100% done, ready to be closed. $7.8 million project came in at $7.3 million. The MSBA's audit will be complete soon. We'll be looking at reimbursements. Everything has a 1-year warranty. The drainage in the rear parking lot is settling. Russo will come in to recompact and repave. The owner's contingency is at $96,300. The oil tank, get down to the oil tank. That, I'll talk about that more with the next meeting. Okay, so Mike says that it'll be about $40,000 to take out. We can't just take out the oil because then the tank will float up and could damage things.
Because the oil's keeping it down, keeping it.
Yeah, it's weighing it down.
heavy, right?
We talked about that it may or may not be within the scope of the project. So fast forward to July 18th, everyone pretty much agreed that it was not in the scope of the project. I brought up the point that a lot of the project's focus was to bring us into code compliance, and this does bring us into
Good
code
try.
compliance. I mean, I just put it out there. I
That was
understood
good.
that it wasn't gonna fly. I get that. I just had to say it. But everybody is in agreement that the tank needs to go, and it sounds like we're probably going to bring it to the town at the fall special meeting and ask the town for the money, because, you know, it's hazardous waste, and it's like sitting a few feet away from the children in our school. It's not something that, and we wanna be in compliance also. So at that, we also talked about, the school building committee is gonna come back to the OS on August 15th to update regarding the landscaping and a plan to deal with it. And then we talked about the utility, plan for Pembroke, and Michael they proposed bringing back the Pembroke electricity to our school budget, because they said the Pembroke is not part of the ESCO, Energy Services contract that retrofitted old buildings in Georgetown. But that's a lot of uncertainty, and unpredictability that Michael, raised, that we need a seat at the table in this discussion. We need to look at it very carefully, because it's not something that it would be
So that's a
good for us to handle in our, it's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, that
was there
that's
any
the- that
idea?
was my question, like,
Nothing-
what will
Yeah,
happen?
yeah.
Nothing moved on it,
Nothing
or I haven't
moved
heard
on it.
anything since that
Right.
meeting.
But
But
we
it sounded
should-
like a board of selectmen, FinCom, and us.
But if
Conversation.
something happens with it, we definitely need to be involved, so
So maybe at
thank you
budget
for
and
speaking
finance,
up
we can
about
talk
that,
about that,
Michael.
Mm.
what we
Very
would
good
like to
point.
see happen.
Yeah, right. So then, let's see, on the 27-24, I made a personal trip to Pembroke to look at everything, because there's been so much, discussion around it. I looked at areas that obviously need repair. There are also areas, there's the discussion about the natural look and how far the natural look should go. My personal thought was just the natural look on the outside of the driveway where it goes into the woods. To me, that's a natural place to have the natural look. As it comes into the school, it needs to be cut, and not like, it doesn't need to be a country club, but it needs to be majorly improved. I took pictures, and numerous dead and half-dead trees. So I'll fast forward to, the 25th. We had a meeting, DRA, that's Drumming, Lozane, and Anderson. The architects, they met with Brait, that's the general contractor. The Leahy Landscaping is the contractor that's causing us angst right now. We required a written plan of action with dates for milestones and contingency plans. We have it. I have it here. I'll tell you about it in a minute. If the contractor, Leahy Landscaping, does not perform, Brait is prepared to bring in another contractor to take on the work. Mike Brait agreed to supervise the work at least weekly in person. Let's see, unfortunately, we also discussed, that the gym classes will not have a field to use in the fall, and the lower soccer field won't be ready. That's really very unfortunate, and it's gonna be very difficult for them. But we have not found, the only potential solution is that piece of land that's in the back, that has the trees, all those little pine trees that have been planted. One of them's dead. That somehow in the contract, that's where the extra soil got laid. And so but we have not contracted with Leahy to do anything with that. So
Oh, I
that's
know what you're
sitting
talking
there,
about, yeah,
you
the-
know what, yeah. And,
We wanted
Mike
to have
might
that be a place where
possibly-
we could play, but they said it wouldn't work.
yeah, Mike,
It's quite a drop off, by the way. You seeing that
yeah,
on the back? I don't know
right.
that I
I
have
mean, it
kids
would be
over-
very limited, it's just outdoor space that's, a
Yeah.
gym teacher maybe could get, students in a circle with a ball or something. I mean, we're not talking about a soccer game,
Yeah.
you know? But maybe Mike can do something with that, I don't know, that's
I guess in the
a
fall, they're
potential-
gonna slice seed, it's, the grass is just completely, there's no irrigation, you know, where the old playground
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So, they're talking about slice seeding it and getting, bringing it,
It's all
bringing
weedy
it back.
now, it's just weedy.
Weed killing and.
I don't know that I'd want my child sitting in it right now unless Michael, we'd have to do something with it, I don't know.
It's just, it wasn't watered, so it's
Right,
dead.
right, so, so the projected schedule summary, week of 7/25, gator bag installation. What's that?
That's the bags that go on the trees.
Okay, okay.
Hold
I've
the
seen-
water.
I saw some of those, okay, gator bag, okay. The week of 8/1, herbicide application in the immediate school surrounds, all the crabgrass that's right around the school, we're going to try to kill the. You
We
believe
just have
that's
to
gonna
make sure
happen?
that they follow the
hair
the HERA plan, you can't be putting your
Right,
kids there, you
pesticides.
can't
You have
be
to notify
putting
the- right,
pesticides,
because
you
we
have to
have kids,
notify the
right.
parents, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a,
I
we
did
told them that, Mike's
Is
told
that all
them
gonna
that they're,
happen the way it
well,
should?
Mike's
I did
told
ask
them what they.
Mike to call our Waltham Services, whatever, to see if perhaps they could do it because they are the one who helped us write our HERA plan. So he was gonna, I didn't get the chance to follow up, but he was gonna talk to somebody about that, and then, but Mike will be right on top of it,
Mike
you
will.
know.
I'm sure.
He knows the
I'm sure he will.
regulations.
Okay. The week of 8/8, we're gonna be seeding the fields, weather dependent. The week of 8/15, we're gonna be seeding the school surrounds, that has to happen 2 weeks after the crabgrass killer. The week of 9/5, so, when school opens on the 29th, there'll be nothing happening and everything will be reasonably presentable. We've spoken to them about how it
That's what
needs
we
to be
requested.
reasonably presentable looking. The week of 9/5, there'll be a planting review. They'll tag all the trees, dead trees and bushes. I hope they don't forget about the bushes. They were talking all about trees and I kept saying bushes, cause there are dead bushes there too. And the week of 10/17, they'll be installing the new ones. All the plantings have a year, warranty regardless of when they're put in. And that's it for now. Okay, the next meeting is August 9th. I will not be able to go to that. So I don't know, it's gonna be a hard meeting for them to have, I'm sure. I don't know if anybody else has an interest in going or not.
Tuesday.
Yeah. If so, maybe you could let me know and so I could let Ellie and Michelle know. I don't think you could vote, they couldn't vote, but you just be a voice at the table if you wanted to be.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
sure. Did we have public relations?
Did you have public relations?
We did.
Okay.
Let's see, I don't have, okay, so I have these minutes, but they haven't been approved, so that's why I didn't turn them in, but if you, so we discussed, what the public relations subcommittee has been doing, and we agreed on the following 5 goals for the upcoming school years. We'd like to use the district website better to communicate and promote school services, programs, and events with the assistance of Paul Swaim. We'd like to really consider and build communication goals around the district's current and future use of technology, especially with the one-on-one coming on. Because I think parents are gonna be wondering, what should I get, what's gonna happen, that's gonna be a focus. So students and families can plan and understand how technology is used to enhance instruction. We'd like to try to get together a focus group to gain insight about what kind of information the public wants to see regarding the finance and budget process, as well as how they wanna receive it. We're going to continue with the Indicators of Excellence project and complete it to develop a district dashboard to be accessible from our website. And we're looking to conduct the second version of our district satisfaction survey in the spring. hopefully with Michael's help. Since he was so instrumental and helpful the first time.
I was trying to get
around.
off the subcommittee.
I know.
Could have given him at least a year.
At your convenience, or maybe if you need to, you can train us, I don't know. That'll take time too, though. Probably be easier just to do it yourself. So that was
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for new business, I wanted to talk about, the, charter schools.
Oh, yes.
We sent some information out today, just to have you be a little more up to speed if you weren't familiar with it. So basically on November 8th, it's gonna be a question on the ballot, question number 2 on the ballot will be to lift the cap on charter schools. So a yes vote would be that you're in favor of authorizing the up to 12 new charter schools, and then if you vote no, it's, you're saying you do not agree with that. So across the state, the school committees, superintendents are all being asked to, you know, make a stand as to how you feel on this particular question. And I do think it's an important discussion to have concerning charter schools. I mean, every time you look at charter schools, I mean, it's just the information that it's just,
It's
It's
a
all over the
national,
place.
it's a whole national
It is.
dialogue. I started
It
to look
is.
into this, I was looking at the articles, thank you, Carol,
and
that
the
you
pros,
provided.
you know, you read the pros
And
and
then I
like,
got
That's why I tried to give you the pros
Articles
and the
and-
cons, so you could see that it's not just one way or the other.
yeah, the bottom line is they take money away from the public
That's
schools.
right. That's-
And that's, I
Yes.
think, that was my, you know, looking at all the different articles that I've read, that's what sticks in my head is, can we afford any more money being taken out of our budget? And I would say no. So, just open for discussion. What do you think?
I mean, you know, one observation is I believe our current cap is 120 in the state. There are 81 operating. Why do we need to raise the cap when we're
So the cap
basically-
right now in Mass is 120.
Yes, when we're basically at 66% capacity. In terms of what's allowable for charter schools.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand, why would you wanna keep adding 12 a year when we don't even have the 120
That,
that's already allowed?
available, right.
Available.
Yep.
Um,
Well, I definitely think that, I mean, again, some charter schools can offer certain students some unique programs that they may need to be the best that they can be. However, I think the impact on our district and what we're doing here, you know, our number one priority is our school district, our kids. And more charter schools is not gonna help us, so.
And, you know, there are some interesting, and effective school structural models that charter schools have come up with. And I guess Massachusetts charter schools are supposed to be some of the most successful in the country. However, those successes are based on longer school hours, private donations, unsustainable. You know, they're just based on things that be very difficult to replicate, and indeed, I don't know that the charter schools themselves, or those that are succeeding, are going to be able to continue with that success. And so I think you really have to be careful when you talk about, I mean, I'm glad that some students are benefiting from those right now, but I don't know how helpful those models are over the long term.
I guess I'm mixed on charter schools. I think in the purest form, they do seek to do something that some folks think that the public school system doesn't provide. And in the purest form, I think it's an experiment at a new model. I think the way they've gone about it in some ways hasn't been great. A lot of them have great results because they're cherry picking the students, or they're able to get rid of students who are not performing as well as they want them to be. I guess my own thought is in the spirit of trying stuff out. I don't think that's a terrible idea. on a very personal Georgetown level, I think it would be devastating if it were to happen in terms of our own budget. So I guess I'm hesitant to demonize is a very strong word, but to paint all charter schools with the same brush, because a lot of them do really good things. And maybe, we're having trouble with our budget, so maybe this isn't sustainable either. And if there's another strategy to give it a shot, you're not going to know if it works or it doesn't work until you try it. So I guess I'm in the purest form. I don't mind them in the real form, the way they've been working.
But the
It's a
question
challenge
is,
to
the
get
question
behind.
is whether or not the cap should be lifted. So it's not whether they're good or bad, it's
Yeah.
just, so if
Well,
you lift the cap,
whether it should be
means-
expanded or not is
That's
really
right.
what I'm getting at, and
I mean, you
Well,
know,
there was a plan to just expand it a little, right? So they have a plan, they do that. The pro charter school people don't want there to be any cap.
any restriction.
Right,
As
just go
many
wherever
as,
they- wherever they'd like,
as pop up.
and communities don't
and we're-
necessarily, they don't have to approve them.
They don't have to, because I think that's what
DESE
people have said
approves
is
them.
the challenge. It's not the goodness of the concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
The original reason that charter schools came in was because they wanted to basically say, public education is broken, and there are other ways to do this, and these are labs of innovation, and we want to show everybody that these things can work. The challenge with it has been that it's not a level playing field, right? So it's hard to say, well, what of those things can be replicated in the public schools when the conditions don't exist. The other thing is, charter schools were supposed to be set up to take care of kids who are underserved, right?
Yeah,
And
so it's
they weren't
policy.
necessarily set up to be schools for the elite kids, right? Or, so I think that's it, they were supposed to take a broad spectrum of students, and there's a lot of allegations that, they don't take certain kids, So again, it's not, you're right, it's not a good thing to do a broad brush. But the whole goal wasn't that they were supposed to be there forever. They were really supposed to be there and it just didn't latch on because it wasn't a replicable model without having everybody have to operate off the same conditions. Right? So I agree with you 100%. I don't think they're bad. If the funding formula was different and and they had to do the same thing we have to do, get state money, get local community money, the community got to say, we want the charter school. Because I can give you the example of Greenfield. When I was in Greenfield, very money-strapped community as well. Charter school came in, beautiful, expeditionary learning. It was a wonderful school. I helped the guy get the standards in place because I was a curriculum director at the time. But the first year alone, $150,000 plus. If it's in your town, you have to provide transportation for kids in the town to get to the charter school. So the impact of the budget, so it was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, so here's this really good thing, really good option, that just, so it's really about the funding. It's really not about the ideas behind it and the
Right, the
innovation.
good or bad of it,
It's
right.
really not.
No.
It's
Well, I
really
mean, the-
about
the
if they could come up with a
goal
funding
is-
formula that
I
was
agree
more
with the
fair and
goal.
equitable. For example, we
Just don't agree how
have
you
school
get there.
choice money, right? So, if it was set up on the same formula as school choice, right? So student goes to the charter school, school choice money follows them, $5,000. That won't allow them to do things the way that right. So that won't work. So if the state wants these, the state needs to come up with a significant share. They wouldn't be approving all of them either, right? Because they'd be like, well, we only have the money, like we have to say we only have the money for X amount. So that's that's the dilemma. It's not, this is a very complex and very, there's probably not been an issue that's been more polarizing.
Maybe vouchers.
Well,
I mean,
but if you think about it,
goal-
Michael, vouchers, if you dial this whole thing back to when No Child Left Behind came in and George Bush wanted vouchers, and the answer to that was no, what followed? School choice. So it's just another way to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no,
That's
absolutely.
that's what you're basically saying when you go to a charter school, is you're gonna go to what parents are
private
choosing
public
is like a private school on public dollars.
Right.
Right? And other people go to private schools and pay for them. Right? So it's really about the funding. And so the danger or the worry that people are concerned about with the lifting of the cap is, I mean, nothing would
What's
stop
going to be
somebody in
taken away
Georgetown
from
from
us.
opening
A charter
a
school.
charter school. Right now, our impact from charter schools is very minimal. Very minimum. I mean, I don't think we have very many kids at all. I could find you out the exact number, but I remember at one point when we looked at required net school spending, there's a charter, there's a choice account, and there's a charter line, and I think it was less than $10,000.
Yeah, it was like 8,000.
Yeah.
So do we know how much the state is responsible for charter schools?
It's a reimbursement
It's a
formula.
reimbursement,
Okay,
and
so
it's the first
complicated.
year it's big,
Big.
and then it's a huge cliff
Right.
in year 2 or year 3.
But now what they're
Now
trying,
they're ready
their
to
new
close.
plan though, is now the plan is it's the other way. It's like
Cheap in
you're
the middle.
getting like 100, they're getting 100% in year 3 or something. I mean,
Something,
it's,
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah.
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 I mean, I don't understand why the state wouldn't just find a way to help fund innovation labs in the public schools, you know,
well,
to
they,
help
th-
us.
there
If
used to
we're
be
not-
such a
if we're
thing
not
called the Horace Mann Charter School, and I think
meeting
there
their
still
ideas
is.
of-
There still is.
Yes.
And I think there still is.
Yes.
What they found in the Horace Mann charters, well, like for example, let's say we wanted to do a Horace Mann charter in our school. We're not big enough. We can't create a school within the high school that's an innovation, right? It makes it difficult. Or large urbans probably could. And you see that. You'll see the classical high school or something, so out of a particular, it's a charter school within the big school district. That makes sense. But a lot of, they do have, and the state does have innovation grants that are
Pentucket is an
competitive.
innovation school.
That's right, because it's a competitive grant.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
it's a
there's
it's a
money
com-
following it too.
Yes, but that's the problem. The money will follow it for a little
For a
bit of
while.
time. And it's just like stimulus money, it's just
Right,
like
they
race to the
expect you to
top.
figure out
That's
how
right,
to-
or just like kindergarten
Put it
grant.
into your budget.
Yeah, that's right.
Roll it into the
Yeah, you've
budget.
gotta roll, and,
Yeah,
and,
it's
you know,
like a present that they're taking, you know,
well, look at all the people who did
threatening
the
to
race
take
to
it
the
away.
top money, and
Yeah.
they had millions of dollars that they had. They hired all kinds of people. That money dried up.
I'm so glad we didn't do that.
So, bottom line is, where do you get $3 million? You know,
Taxpayers.
if they can fund it, otherwise you're cutting services again. So it's just, there's just not enough funding, across the board, but, so that's what they want you to figure out, ask is, or do you wanna join on to just say that you object to lifting the cap? It's not saying that charter schools won't continue,
No.
that
no,
you're not in
right.
support of them,
Right.
just, do you wanna see, there be a limit to the number of charter schools that
Right,
can be?
so how, do we actually take a vote, a formal vote?
Well, I think, Mike, I know this, Joe asked us about this, I know that there have been some other school boards and school committees that are taking a vote on this, to sort of just weigh in. Is that what,
They did.
is that what you're hearing?
That's what I'm hearing, and so I'm not sure if this is a uniform process, or if it's just something that's more informal and.
Get
it's a
your take on it.
Recommendation to the community to say, this is how it'll impact our community, and this is what we're recommending.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the MTA is trying to get real numbers of places that have made commitments.
Yeah, Michael said
And I
that
think the
they
School
have that.
Superintendent's Association has, been asking for that as well, but, so the superintendents have sort of signed on to it, but I don't know if the School Committees Association has reached out to you.
I know the MTA has a list of schools that have voted on, almost like a resolution
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
opposition to.
Yeah,
the
you're not
process.
required to do it by any means, I think that Joe asked, would you consider, doing
But
that?
it's like
it,
there are
right.
some organization like the Suburban Coalition that it would help
don't-
them for us
I
to-
don't know, Pam,
Yeah,
that's,
I don't know if there's like a grassroots organization.
They had like a specific
you could always ask Mike,
letter.
you could always ask Mike Gilbert too, I mean, he's your rep, you could say, hey, is this in our best interest to do it? Is this something
As a
that,
formal vote.
that other, do we need a formal vote, I mean, informally, it sounds like you're in agreement that, you don't want it to impact any more financially.
Mhm.
I just don't,
Right.
personally, I wouldn't recommend voting to raise the cap. I
cap.
mean, I agree
Lift
with
the
the
cap.
goals of charter schools to close the persistent achievement gap between
Mhm.
the rich and the poor. I think that's a very, very worthy cause, but I don't think this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I know Joe wanted to, he was sending out a welcome letter to
Yeah.
to his group, and I know he wanted to include, this with it.
The committee's
Yes, the
sentiment.
committee was just, yeah. But I don't think that needs to be for him to do that, for it to be a formal vote. But I will get in touch with Mike to see if that is something that he would like to see. But I know I am not in favor of lifting the cap, just because I can't see the money going, even though we're impacted low, but still, I would hate to see any more money come.
Well, and for us, $8,000 is
Yeah.
critical.
It's
City,
unfortunately.
yeah, it's looking at our district's interest is one thing, but even looking across the state,
Right,
I'm not seeing it as an effective.
Right.
So I guess you could
Okay.
report to Joe that the consensus of the committee is
I would think
that,
so,
you know,
that they're-
you're going to look into whether to take a formal vote, but that the committee is not in support of lifting the cap.
Right. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, thank you, I'm glad we got to learn more about this issue and
Yeah.
look into it.
It's a complicated
It's
one.
on many levels, yes.
So we have an advisor stipend approval that we need to talk about. Current Affairs Club?
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't we do this last time?
Well, I don't know. Laura and I were having this conversation. This one, Joe
don't
had
remember seeing
asked
the
us to
actual
take a
form.
look at this because this was one of those that was not included in the contract
Right.
discussion.
had
And
this
I think we did a
discussion-
side letter?
apparently,
You getting deja vu?
I am,
'Cause
yeah.
I'm-
yes, apparently, this current affairs club advisor stipend, we do $600 in the first year.
Right.
So apparently, this did exist last year, and I believe we paid a $600 stipend. So I guess we didn't know that, maybe Joe forgot too, because he put it in front of us again, and so we just automatically said, oh, okay, yep, new stipend, we missed it in the contract, we'll pay $600. So technically, this is like year two. We just haven't negotiated with the union.
But it-
We've paid this woman the $600.
Okay.
I feel like we voted this last meeting.
Okay, that we couldn't remember, because Laura and I did have that
It wasn't
conversation.
in the minutes, this was sitting in the mail. This
It was
letter
in your
signed by
packet.
Joe was sitting in the mail and it was supposed to happen, but it wasn't in the minutes.
Okay, that's what it was. Laura didn't have it in her
Double check.
minutes, she didn't
Okay.
have a vote. So yes, so you're correct, you saw it. The thing is,
But we had this,
But
we
you
had the
said you had a
conversation about
discussion.
it not being in the like, we had this
I know,
conversation.
but what I think might have happened is it didn't, somehow
We
it
didn't
didn't
actually
take a
vote on
vote.
it.
That's
Okay.
all. So that's all we need, we don't have to have any more conversation about it, we'll just vote. But we need to
should-
negotiate for
Should we
next
change
year.
it to be the 2016-17 year?
This was last year.
Okay. No, so, is that making sense to you now?
So we're voting to pay.
We already paid
We
her.
paid it.
But we just didn't.
Laura said the
actually
problem is it
approve
wasn't in the minutes as a vote.
And,
We just,
and it
backwards
all
stuff.
goes
We
back
already paid
to,
her.
Yeah.
and it all
So
goes
if we
back to
say
mass
no, we're
teachers
not gonna approve
You
retirement.
can't, no, you won't say no.
We have to send in a-
Because we did have the conversation already, you're correct, we just didn't vote on it.
We have to have a record of it so that the teacher's pension can be
Right,
taken
taken
out of
out.
it.
Yeah.
My question on it is, you said that the first year is 600 and this is the second year.
Correct, so Joe understands that,
So the second
that
year
was a
is still
slip up.
$600
So the poor lady got 600 in the second year too, so what we have to do now is we sit down with the
figure out-
union and we figure out what's the appropriate stipend, so that the next year, the following year, until the next contract, which is in 18, then we'll get it in the contract and then we never have to have this conversation again.
Okay, so was she
Agreed.
overpaid? Is that?
She was underpaid.
Underpaid. She was.
I mean, technically, she was underpaid. We should have had a different number.
Where do these, and I know I've asked this question before, where do these show up in?
At the back of
There's
the high
one line.
school.
Is that the student activities?
That's.
Advisors.
The advisors,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay.
So, sorry, it was just a vote that we needed.
I'll make a motion to approve the Current Affairs Club advisor stipend in the amount of $600 for the 2015-2016 school year.
So moved.
As presented.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we will sit down and we'll get a stipend and bring that before you.
Okay. Okay, so now we have some policies that we wanna talk about.
Or not.
Okay, so the free and reduced price food services.
I can walk you through it if that's easier, because I brought my policies that I crossed all out. So, the old policy included that middle paragraph that talked about we wouldn't deny a student a free lunch if they didn't have any money. So since we wanted to update our meal charging policy, we took that out. And our new policy is just basically stating that we follow the National School Lunch Program policy on free and reduced lunch prices.
Does
Okay.
that policy speak to?
No.
Okay,
No, because it's for students that
that qualify.
that qualify,
sign up and-
period. I don't know why that other language was in there, but it was.
Okay.
So we moved that over, well, we changed it dramatically and moved it over to the meal charging policy.
Okay,
So that's the only change there.
okay, so I will make a motion to approve the revised policy EFC, free and reduced price food services as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now this is the good one.
You wanna do the other ones first? Just get
A
rid
bunch
of
of easy ones.
Yeah, we
Ones are
can.
easier.
Yeah, this is the most
Yeah,
difficult.
let's go back to that one. Okay, so the equal educational opportunities, JB.
Yeah, so, as we reviewed the night we talked about the coordinated program review, we were missing one, designation of homelessness in our equal educational opportunities, so I added homelessness.
Okay,
That's the only change to this policy.
okay, that seems easy. So I'll make a motion to approve revised policy JB as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And now JIE, pregnant students.
Right, so again, through the coordinated review, I think you had updated the policy,
We
but
did.
I don't think the policy got updated. Because you have December 2010, which was right after the
Right,
last coordinated
That's
review.
right, we did. That's
But
right.
we didn't, I wasn't here, but it didn't change for some reason. Maybe an old version got put in our policy manuals, I don't know. So we just redid the pregnant student ones to follow along with what the civil rights laws say it has to
Required,
say,
yeah.
which means you can't treat them any different
Yeah.
than anybody else.
Okay,
You can't require doctor's notes if you wouldn't ask for any other
Doctor's notes,
Doctor's
any
notes,
kids'
right, yeah.
doctor's notes.
student.
okay, so I'll make a motion to approve revised policy JIE, pregnant students as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now JQ, student fees, fines, and charges.
Right, so this one is very different.
Yeah.
This is to give us some kind of leverage with trying to collect the outstanding fees on whatever program. We inserted that, 1 through 5 of the different steps we may take, doesn't say we will take, that we may take in order to be able to collect the fees. So I'll just quickly go through them. So the first one would be if a student is, and if it's not gonna be if a student necessarily is, a month late, then we'll call them and we'll send them a letter. But when it gets to be to the point where we have a lot of money outstanding, it adds up, $39,000. So this will allow us to take some of these steps. So the first would be to prohibit participation of the student in the program that they owe the fee to. So whether it's preschool, athletics, even the after-school program, that they won't be able to participate. The second step would be prohibit participation of the student or other students in the student's home from participating in any future fee-based program until or unless outstanding balances are resolved. Because typically if they get behind on one, they just can't, they can't do it. Currently, right now, besides a small program that we do for the kids in Camp Kiev and some field trips, we don't have a scholarship. We don't have the ability to fund a scholarship program for any of the, Chris does absorb the athletics if the kids are, needy, he does absorb it, but when you get into some of these expensive programs, the district can't absorb it. Number 3 would be denial of participation in extracurricular activities. 4 would be prohibit student participation in senior week activities or graduation exercises, which is something that Peter Lucia currently does for outstanding book fines to his school, and food services. He will, it is a pretty good tool to collect because of the, they want to participate in the graduation activities. However, that's, you know, if somebody goes for preschool and we don't get it until they graduate, that's a problem. And then the last, and really you don't want to take this step, would be to referral to small claims court and or the DA's office. So this is something I did in a previous district. It's not pleasant. A lot of people, when they get the notice from the courts, I go over and I file in a small claims court. They get the notice from the court. It's some time out, you know, maybe 6 weeks, so they get a notice they have to appear in court. A lot of times people will call you right up, try to make a payment plan, do the best they can, but sometimes they just don't have it and they can't. So you have to go to court, and typically they'll ask the district if they would go to mediation. So you meet in a room with a mediator, and the mediator goes over the finances of the person and then comes up with a proposal of a monthly payment that you'd accept. And then if they pay it, that's great, and if they don't, you go back to court again. And it sometimes takes a long time, but it does get the majority of people to figure out a way to pay.
In small claims, there's no fee.
No, I do pay, the district has to pay, I think it's $40.
Okay, so minimal fee.
Yeah,
Right, and then the time that it would take for you to attend.
right.
Okay.
You know, but, you know, for some people, that's the route we had to take in other districts. I mean, it's not something you want to do.
Right, no, right.
Is there, the question I had with this one is there are mitigating circumstances, every case is individual. Is there a consistency issue with the director of finance may
Yeah.
choose one
We
to
talked about
five?
Well,
Like, how do we just make sure that people are being treated
fairly.
fairly?
Right.
And are the numbers, is it in priority order, Joan? Does it?
I mean, it does feel
really
like
isn't, right?
escalating.
It does escalate to 5.
I would say it is, in my opinion, it would be priority order. That's what you try. First of all, you try everything. I've tried meeting
Yeah.
with people, and
Yeah.
they promise you, and, you know, it's not that, I don't know everyone's intentions. Most people, it's not their intention. They get wrapped up in, they don't qualify because they are working, but their mortgage payment is high and their car payment is high, and, you know, but they don't qualify for the free and reduced lunch. So, but I always offer a payment plan, and I said it doesn't matter if it crosses into fiscal years because they go into revolving accounts. And some people are great. They'll pay, you know, $30 a month to get caught up on something. But other people do promise you, and then they don't do anything, but nothing happens. The child still stays in the program, and it's unfortunate. You hate to punish the child, but on the other hand, $39,000 is a lot outstanding. So
Absolutely.
I just feel like, you know, I feel like I, you know, talk to people and I do my best, but it's idle without a good policy behind it. I really don't have anything to stand on at the end of the day if I don't have a policy behind it. And we did put, I think that, can they appeal to you? I would think I was supposed to put that in, Carol.
Yeah, I
You're
think we
supposed to-
talked about that, they would appeal to me.
Maybe I have to put that in. I might have to add that.
Well, it says, the school committee reserves the right to establish fees for participants in certain activities.
Yeah, there's no.
Okay, yeah, there's nothing in here for appealing.
So I would think it would be after 5, I would add a sentence that would say, any of these actions may be appealed to the superintendent. Right, I mean,
Superintendent or school committee?
I think superintendent.
You want it?
Really?
It's a very unpleasant situation. I mean, I don't think, again, I think if Joan or whoever's doing their due diligence, I don't think, you know, the appeals, you know, we'd hear it, but.
I'd rather you.
That's fine. So we'll approve it with that.
Yeah, I just put,
Adding.
any of the above may be appealed to the superintendent of schools. I put it right below 5, and I'll add that, I'll give it to Laura.
Okay, so make a motion to approve file JQ, student fees, fines and charges, with the addition of adding, number 6, stating any of the above can be appealed to the superintendent of schools.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll talk about the meal charging
Yes.
policy.
Again, this is one that you don't have to pass it tonight. I mean, the other one was very important for me to try to get this collected over the summer.
$39,000.
You might, this might take more time, but,
It might.
and you might need Heather here. You might want Heather to come to the next meeting or something.
I guess my question, if we took out the the sentence in the school lunch program saying that we'll feed students who are undernourished, or whatever the language was. And we have the sort of escalating consequences policy. Do we,
We can't prohibit, I don't think we can prohibit students from participating in school lunch, which was, that's why we have two separate policies, I think. Well, although at the top of the policy, we do talk about school lunch. It says not limited to school lunch.
But I think well.
But by law, you have to have a meal charging policy. Remember, we didn't have any policy before, and
When
we
we got
got
audited.
cited
Yeah, we
through
got
the
audited.
audit.
Okay.
So we had to develop a meal charging policy. So it has to be separate from your collections of student fines.
And we did amend it, right? And then we tried the
right,
amended policy, and it didn't really
got a little better.
change
than
our
it was.
circumstances. You know, in terms
Where
of-
is the policy though that I was reading that says after grade 2, where is
Oh,
it?
it's probably the new
The
one.
new
So you got a
policy.
new
So
one
it's
and
under,
old.
okay, so it's
It's labeled
under,
new.
what?
It's labeled new.
But it-
It's on page 2, it starts all other students at the bottom, Bobby.
okay, so was it?
Goes
but
over
it
to,
looks
it would be
different, I don't know
B,
why.
I think. At the top of page 3B,
Elementary students.
they can charge up to a maximum dollar amount of 5 meals.
I remember I know what you're talking
Right?
about, Barbie, and I
It
don't
was
remember where I read it.
It was like a
Say again,
change.
Barbie, what
Yeah,
you're
it was almost
thinking?
like a chart. It said like, great, kindergarten to 3, well,
Right.
and then
Okay.
4 to 6. Where is that?
All right,
Was
let's-
it
That's
in
what I
your-
was looking
Was it
at.
in your note?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it was in the
wasn't notes, I
packet.
just looked at that.
You know what, I think
was
it
in
was
the
in the
packet.
minutes. Was it in the governance
Maybe it was in the
Yeah,
minutes,
yeah,
the
yeah.
governance
That's
minutes,
I
okay.
think it is, cause I wrote that.
Okay. Okay, so then that would be, here then, okay, between A, B, and C, that's how you
Yeah.
added it into the policy,
is.
okay. I thought I was going crazy there for a minute, I'm like, I know I looked
Would
at
it
it.
be
and
easier to see it in a chart?
No, well,
Yeah, I mean, we have it in the minutes earlier in the back.
but I'm thinking on the
No, I
policy
mean,
thing,
I
I think
mean
it
for
would
the-
be. I think on the policy, it would be easier.
To do it just as Cheryl did in the minutes?
Yeah. Where is that? Can we do that?
Yeah.
We have it added like
Just make
that?
sure that I'm correct with the policy.
Right, well, Heather gives the sample of what the alternate meal is and all that
Oh,
kind of
right,
description.
right.
That's why it's so long, but we can figure out something that's a little easier for people to see.
It's very wordy.
Yeah, I think so. And if we did just put it
Yep.
in that format, I think
We
it
can
would
put
be
a, we can
easier.
put a, definition of what an alternate meal is someplace else in the policy and then break it down like that.
Right. All right, so can we do that next? We'll
Yeah.
have that revised.
And we'll
then?
have,
So that
we'll
wasn't-
have Heather come.
Well, my question, and it's probably to her, is I'm curious to how many people apply for free and reduced lunch who don't qualify.
We
Who
can find that
apply
out.
but don't qualify.
I can, we
Okay.
can find
You
that
know,
out.
who feel
Or
like.
who qualify and don't apply.
Well, that's harder to
Well,
get
there,
at.
that's
there is a
harder.
direct, there is a program to speak to that. Not everyone wants to apply. Not everyone wants to walk into Joan's office or I guess Heather's office and hand over the application. There is a direct
Direct certification.
certification.
We get a list, it was the first year second year I was here, I think I had to do that, I didn't have a food service director. So you get a list, there's a website you have to have a login for, and you go in and you pull down the Georgetown direct certification list, and that list comes from the children that receive, Mass Health,
Oh yeah.
parents that are on SSI disability,
Yes, that's
those
good.
are already qualified, they don't have to go
They're
through
not doing the
anything.
paperwork, right?
Nothing. So, we match them up to all our students,
So we already do
know.
capture all those.
We
Okay.
capture all those, and then, Heather does go to the, open houses and, meets with, talks about, free and reduced lunch. We have increased the percentage to 10%.
She said.
Anytime someone calls me for help with Camp Kiev or anything like that, I automatically send them out a packet. And like I said, some people, while they're working and earning enough to not be qualified, they're still struggling. So, but they don't qualify. And there's a very strict regulation and rule about how they qualify. And then, So they do submit their forms, and she's tried hard. I mean, I think she's done a good job to try to increase the percentage to get kids fed. I'm sure there are people out there that still haven't applied.
But the state has changed its formula, so when you figure Title I is based on the free and reduced lunch counts. But because they don't use the standard way that it's been done in the past, a lot of districts are finding that their Title I funds have been cut significantly, because it is through the welfare office. There are, other ways that they're using it, so districts are really struggling to try to find that balance.
And do we know if there's, a percentage of folks who receive the reduced lunch who are racking up a bill?
Yeah, there was some, not many.
So what's the best way for somebody to apply for a free and reduced lunch? What's the easiest, quickest way?
The forms are located at the schools, the new form. Heather has been away out of town.
Like at the main office? You go
If
in?
they go to the main office, it goes home, I think.
It goes
with
home in the first day.
First day of packet,
Okay.
it goes home.
Love that.
It's on our website, you can call Heather. I mean, there's a lot of ways that people can apply for it, and
Okay.
it goes to Heather and is approved by Heather.
Yeah.
Following the program, there's a computer program that figures it out, and if they don't qualify, they're allowed to appeal to me if they don't agree with Heather's calculations or whatever, but I think it's done through our POS system now, so it's not done by hand anymore. And Heather alone, are the people, Heather, or if you appeal to me, are the people that know about it, that's it.
Okay.
That's it, unless they choose to sign off the form that lets them share it with athletics or any other, I think they've added things into that like Camp Kiev and, field trips and stuff, so they will share it with the people that need to know, but that's it.
Okay.
Well, and I guess maybe it's not like a policy, maybe it's not worthy of being in the policy, but I guess that idea that I know we talked about at the governance meeting was that we don't want kids to get to the point
Right.
where they're on meal 15 and they'll be shut off. Like,
Right, so
Is-
practice should be, in my opinion anyway, that, when Heather sees that someone's in arrears and, seems to be getting a little bit behind, that she should reach out to the principal. I mean, our schools are small enough that I think you should be able to reach out to the principal, and then the principal can decide, does the principal feel comfortable calling the mom or dad and saying, is something going on, we noticed that he hasn't had any lunch money, or you haven't paid the bill, or whatever. Or, in cases where that is uncomfortable, then maybe the adjustment counselor makes the phone call. And the adjustment counselor should be in tune to if kids are struggling in the building. Because typically, I mean, sometimes people's lives just get too busy and they, it's not important right now. They've got other things they're struggling with, and so, and then if a family's in need, then the adjustment counselor could say, you know what, there are resources, you can apply for free and reduced lunch, and there are other resources. So, that would be, I don't know that has to be in the policy, that would just be our
It's more
practice.
procedure, it's more of a
Yeah,
procedure.
right.
procedure, because it doesn't seem like that's been happening up till now, right? To get
Right,
this far
mostly
behind.
it's mostly been Heather and her secretary making phone calls.
Or sending little reminders,
Right.
home.
Right, but I think it's important if they, get the principal, at least the principal involved, and then the principal can make the decision who, maybe the classroom teacher needs to take notice of it or something.
So that procedural change could happen.
Absolutely,
To make sure that.
sure, absolutely. You can talk about it at leadership.
So, we can certainly make formatting changes to the policy, but the construct of the
I have one more question
content is.
before. In the balances owed, page 3, it references the student fees, fines, and charges, which we just passed.
Yeah.
The section A is not, it doesn't match up.
Oh.
Number 1 is we can
We'll
delay
delay
the
the
issuance
issue.
of.
Oh, you know what, I was supposed to take that out because we didn't think we could do that.
Okay.
Oh, good, yeah,
I mean,
because
should-
I was
Remember
gonna
we
bring
said,
that up.
that was
We
the
did
one
talk
we
about
said,
that.
That didn't look like something I would be necessarily in.
that was, I copied it off a policy.
Okay.
But I remember Carol saying, I don't think we can do that.
Should
It
we,
doesn't look entirely legal.
should we just copy and paste?
Yes, I will do
These-
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Are we gonna include the
Great.
appeal
Yep,
provision as
yep,
well?
yep.
great.
Okay.
So which part is
So
coming out?
we're gonna
This
take
is-
out this and replace it with this.
So we can discuss this again in August and we can finalize it, but the challenge is if we're going to implement it,
Yeah,
then then it needs to be
yeah.
done. So that's why conceptually, do people agree with the content of it? Or I know Barbie, you had some questions about it, so.
Yeah, no, I
long
know
as you-
we have to do it, I just,
And Heather
It's
can, when
bothersome.
Heather comes to
Take
the
this
meeting.
part out.
We'll take care of that.
When Heather, if Heather comes to the next meeting, Heather can talk about, she told us the different ways that they can, make sure that the child's, it's not noticeable that a child gets an alternate meal.
No, and I
If
know
there's different-
she'll do whatever.
Right, but she did even
Like this.
demonstrate to us how like they have these trays now
They
that they
just
could
put
just
it-
take the
yeah.
tray and give them another tray and, remember she talked
Yeah,
about that, cause
yep.
you don't want the child,
but then for the
Standing
kid
up.
to be like, no, I don't want that.
well,
That's not the
that
one
might
I
be
want.
different.
Like yelling
Well,
at-
Well, and
there
then
you
Heather
go.
did bring that up,
Pausing.
Heather said that, kindergartners may cry.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
hard.
know.
They will cry.
Right.
They will cry.
Yeah.
But again, I think
So-
that's where the teachers, could reach out early.
So we'll
to-
see a revised one,
Yep,
and
I'll
then
bring it
Heather
back,
will
yep.
come, if she's
I'll have Heather
available
come,
to
yeah.
come.
Okay, so in August.
Okay.
All right, wonderful.
All right, that's good. I think we are all set with the agenda. So I will make a motion to adjourn at 9:18 PM. We do need to go into executive session, chapter 38, section 21, for contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and we will not be returning to live broadcast. I need a roll call vote.
Go aye.
Well, do we need
Do
to
we-
so moved and, yeah,
Well, we need roll call, okay.
yeah,
So moved.
second,
There you go.
Any discussion on it? Roll call?
Aye.
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 Great. Good night.